So yeah, the one where I'm wearing the septum piece, that was actually supposed to be the last one, but doesn't really matter. It's not like we're writing a drama or something.
When he said he posted the most recent one, I really thought we skipped one.
Yeah.
I was thinking that while I was posting it, if I'm honest with you.
Well, a lot of the time when I'm watching them back, we've had so many conversations on podcast and in person that I honestly can't even remember what we were talking about.
I agree.
Which one is this?
I completely agree.
And then I'm like, what was I wearing that day? What is happening here? What
I
is
feel like the only solution is we'll get a giant episode counter and put it right here in big bold letters.
What helps
so
is
we can never see the footage and get it wrong.
What helps is the timer was still running from the last one,
Yeah.
so if we just leave it running, we can work out a system where we base what episode we're on by how many hundreds of hours have passed.
Right.
336 hours ago we were here.
Yeah,
or then it's all
we
the
took
same
a week
episode.
off. So how many hours in a week? 184, I think,
Something like that.
somewhere in that area.
There we go.
I was-
Every 184, we're good.
I was trying to figure this out, like, because I always say my broad number is like 800 hours tattooed.
Yeah.
Now.
Yeah.
And I've worked that out over the years, but I'm like, how many weeks is that? It's over a month. Like it's over. If I were to come, like I imagine, like I'm here for my tattoo, Kevin. Come in.
168 hours in a week.
Yeah. So 100. Yeah. So more than a month.
That's right.
So come in for my appointment. I'm here for my appointment, Kevin. And then a month and a half later, I leave. All right, we're good. See you later.
That would be the worst thing.
Can you
I
imagine?
can't imagine.
Well, I see these guys sit
I
down
think
at.
you'd probably die, wouldn't you?
Oh, you'd
Tattooed
have
that
to.
much?
I mean, you have to eat during the process.
Well, sure. Someone brings me a sandwich.
Yeah, I guess there's that.
And then you'd have to
sandwich,
have
bro.
No
you'd have
water.
to have multiple tattoo artists swapping in and out as they
Oh.
get tired.
Ooh. But now, can you... Yeah, you would die.
See, the problem with yours
Your
is like,
nervous system would break down.
I wonder
think
what
you
the
could do
longest. Can you find what was the longest
tattoo
tattoo session ever?
We have iPads, right?
I see some of these guys that go to conventions, and I swear they must be numbed for the whole thing because they'll leave with a whole front piece or a whole back piece or whatever.
I was looking at one of the big color guys I follow. I was looking at his stuff, and he did. Oh no, it's not a good sign.
That's not a good face, and it's not
he
a good
did
sound.
A Pokemon leg panel from here to here,
Sure.
in full color.
Yeah.
Like this full ridiculous color piece in one convention.
so
And like you looking at it, it was easily 50 hours of tattoo.
Ugh.
So, first question: who do you think did it in the world of tattoos? Who do you think did this?
Rick
Like what
Pearson.
country?
Russia.
Okay, Russia,
Germany?
Italy,
Really?
the most tattooed country in the world. Did you know that?
I did
Yeah,
not
I
know
did
that.
not know that.
48% of their population have more than 6 tattoos.
Wow.
48% have
See,
more
it's
than
strange
6.
because I don't know, but then again, I guess I'm not looking for it. I don't know anyone Italian, I guess, that has a lot of tattoos.
Meanwhile, here in Canada, 48% of people 20 and under have no tattoos.
Or
Is
49%
that an actual
have
statistic?
one face tattoo now.
Yeah. They've got their full hand tattoo and face tattoo. Yeah.
But anyways, yeah, it was a team doing the tattoo. They did 60 hours straight.
Was the person unconscious for most of this, or
You'd have to sleep.
Well, yeah, I guess that's a real question of like where did they get tattooed?
Yeah, of course.
Um,
Because they can't hold this position for 60
yeah,
hours.
you're not going to do 60 hours on an armpit or a
No,
you know, like a knee ditch
It's
or
got to
like
be a leg sleeve thing.
was it like was it a back piece or
man, you know, I will find out.
I believe you
we're
will.
dedicated to this. Yeah, I did 9.5 hours once, and I was just tired. Like
Really?
I was tired by the end of it. I was almost falling asleep. Of course, it was on my head. Like I did both sides
Yeah.
of my head,
That
and
sounds worse.
it was a really slow tattooer. So and with a really light hand, but
Yep.
just couldn't finish. Like it was like everything was saturated, and then the light would change, and I got to get back at it's one of those.
I know that feeling so well.
Where like I think Lee touched them up later, and he did one of them in like an hour and a half, and the
Yeah.
other one in an
Yeah.
hour and a half. So it was like a 3-hour tattoo that took 9.5 hours.
Exactly.
And yeah, I was just ready to pass out.
Someday I still want to have a long session like that done on me, just so I can know. Because right now, at least twice a week, I've got someone that comes in and sits down, and after 3 hours, I'm ready for them to, tap out. And they're like, nah, keep going. Nope, keep going. It happened yesterday. A guy came in. He was only expecting to get the outline done.
Yeah.
I don't do a lot of neo-trad work, but I had a neo-trad piece yesterday. I had a lovely outline designed up, and he asked if we're going to get just the outline done or what. And I said, we'll probably get the outline done and a little bit of color.
Yeah.
And then every time I'd finish, one of my sets of color, I'd say, okay, you ready to like tap out yet? Nah, keep going. The fucker sat for 7 hours. His first tattoo.
Wow.
He's never had a drop of ink before, and he sat for 7 hours yesterday.
I think there's something to that, like internal fortitude where you're like, I want it all done now. I don't care what pain I go through. I just want it.
Yeah. I'm deeply
Don't want
impressed.
it to come back.
Yeah, that's tough stuff right there.
Yeah.
Like
It's not a small tattoo. It's a fully saturated 9-inch by 9-inch by 5.5-inch tattoo.
Mm-hmm.
the top of the thigh is a very present tattoo.
Yeah, you're right.
You're
there
not
the whole
really-
time.
But
You're not-
was it on the front, like here?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
it's not the worst spot, but
It's not the worst
No,
spot. It's
to-
just it's there.
to
you
get a
know what I mean?
9-hour tattoo right
Yeah.
here
That's not the best place for first
for
one.
your first tattoo.
No,
And
but
big.
it's also not the worst place for a first one.
No.
But I mean, like, it's definitely. I would say if I were to grade that, it would be somewhere like in a middle range of
Yeah, you'd
like.
be a 4 or 5 kind of thing.
Yeah, well, I don't go any lower than a 5 ever, as
Yeah,
I've
yeah.
said. Like nothing
Yeah.
ever feels like a 1 to me. And
But that's still a 6 at
yeah,
worst.
yeah,
You know?
yeah. That's exactly what I was
Yeah.
gonna say. It's like
Meanwhile, the shin gets a 7 or an 8, right?
Man, I don't know.
my books.
For me, that
Really?
was not that
see,
bad.
this is where the pain scale varies person
See,
to
for
person.
me, the calf is a 4.5.
Yeah, no, the calf was more.
There's
pinchy
that
for
much
me.
variation in those for you, huh?
Oh
Calf
Yeah,
man,
and
he's
chin.
got nothing for the calf.
I'll take calf all day long.
So you
The
go
shin
like a
kills
few
me.
millimeters over, and you're in a different ballpark. Like you
Oh,
go
yeah.
from front to back, and
The-
it's like agony to bliss kind of thing.
That's right, and the knee is an excellent example of that, where you can be fine and dandy over here, and then right here be dying, but right here be totally sweet.
This is
Yeah.
like misconceptions of like when I would post videos of me getting like my torso worked on, and whether it was my old suit or the blackout. People were always like cringing at the rib stuff.
Yeah.
Like it was always like you get like the bitey teeth emoji. People will give you that one like like they're terrified for you, and I'm like, no, that was the easiest part of my day.
Yeah.
The worst part of my day was the squishy parts, and like down in here and like under the rib and like right around the belly button where my skin is squishier.
Well, it also sucks because you've got someone standing on top of you, stretching you
Yeah.
in such a preposterous way.
I've always had a worse time with the stretchier skin
Of course.
than the thicker stuff. Like
Yeah.
people hate getting their chest tattooed. I think the chest tattoo is the easiest tattoo I can get.
But see, a lot of people, myself included, are pussies compared to you.
I'm not saying that because like people always go, "Do you even feel the pain anymore?" And I'm like, yeah, like that's, yep.
Yeah.
If anything, it probably hurts more than it used to because it's all scar now. Like I'm working on like a battleground of scar tissue, right?
Yeah.
You've
but-
leveled up.
Sure. Let's say my mental
Layered up.
callus, where what you're weighing it against is like, well, at least it's not this thing, or well,
Ogres
it's
have
not
layers.
that.
Jeremy's got layers.
I do. That I
onion.
do.
He's an onion.
Onion, yeah.
that metaphor doesn't work like that. But
No.
okay.
No, I like it. It's good. Yeah, no,
I
it's
do too, actually.
yeah, no,
more people
I don't
wear
know.
onions.
When like I'll get my chest tattooed, and it's almost like a day off. Like, and then even the arms are a little harder than the chest, which is weird. Like, I always used to think that my arms were the easiest,
Yeah.
but now my chest feels easier than my arms for some reason.
See, you can say that all you want, but you're wrong.
I might be.
Well, okay, just so to clear this up, it looks like he tattooed her kind of all over. Mostly.
What style was this done in?
Um,
That's another thing that matters.
But
it's
classic tattoo style of thin lines and
That's-
bad shading.
That's kind of what I was gonna say. Like, not necessarily.
not
but there's-
bad,
It's kind of
but-
one of those like it's an artist interpretation of something more realistic, but it's
It's
Surrealism?
It's still illustrative.
illustrative. That's kind of the route I'd say. And like her whole thigh is done. She was a 32-year-old businesswoman, so I'm guessing she's now 34, if I understand the timeline of this correctly. But I think they show a back piece in there. So my guess is they were working all over her. And like, to be fair, I have met a couple of people, all of them are women, that have the ability to sit like that. Our piercer, Steph.
Yeah.
She could sit like that, no problem. She'd fall asleep. She fell asleep in a 10-hour session.
Nice.
And she was like, I could keep going, but my hips hurt. And I was like, yeah, fair.
Obviously. Of course they hurt.
Like, some people are wired that. Well, like, there was a guy that Lee had a leg sleeve with. He sat like that. It was weird. He was getting the back of his knee done, and it was like nothing.
Jeez.
Yeah, like, again, I think there's that intestinal fortitude to it where, like, you might not want to do that every day.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like, that woman might not ever do that again. But, like, you could, if you set your mind to something, you can just, because that's all I do ever. Like, when people are like, how do you get through tough sessions? It's like, all you do is go, well, it'll be over eventually, right?
That's right.
Like, you won't be here forever. But when you know that, you can survive anything.
You accept that everything's temporary and your mortality, and you carry on with your day, right?
Pretty well, yeah.
Yeah.
Like, well, what day has ever lasted long, right?
Exactly.
But for those kinds of things, like, I still wonder if she was numbed. Like, I always imagine, like, when I see, have you seen Ink Master?
Yep.
See, in this case, I feel like numbing her would be worse. Because if you numb an area and tattoo it, and then try to come back to it in 3 hours after the numbing cream's worn off, you can't keep going.
You'd have to keep moving.
Maybe it's worse for the artist too.
Unless you numb this, tattoo
while
this.
you work on the back.
Numb this, tattoo this, numb this,
Yeah.
tattoo this, and then start the cycle over again.
There's a point.
There must be a strategy going into it, though. How is this tattooer going to do 60 hours, right, without knowing, how do I want to map this out? Where am I going to work for this period? Where am I going to work for you know what I mean? Like, because you can't do 60 hours on a wrist.
But there's a certain amount of lidocaine. Isn't there a certain amount of lidocaine that you can have where if you're covered in it enough, it's lethal?
Oh, yeah. Goodness. Well, lethal, I'm sure, is a very big dose. But you can get lidocaine sickness. Like, you can get poison from it.
Lidocaine poisoning or whatever.
Now, so here's a scenario. Man, this is going to be our slowest episode of all time. This is great. Here's a scenario.
Okay.
What if he tattoos her for 4 hours right here? Doesn't finish it, just gets 4 hours started here.
Then numbs.
4 hours here, 4 hours here, 4 hours here. Numbs this, just 4 more hours here. Numbs this, 4 more hours here. Numbs this, 4 more hours here. Numbs it, you know? And kind of has this cycle where he's working off the strengths and weaknesses of each. And then as he finishes these pieces up, he's moving on to down here, unnumbed.
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you,
you're working on fresh skin, unnumbed. Your body has a chance to let the lidocaine
kind of work.
I've never had any numbing creams of any kind used on me, but I have had Bactine sprayed on me, right? Obviously, that's happened.
Bactine is the same active ingredient, just it's a different application, so it has a much shorter runtime.
Yeah,
Well, putting it into damaged tissue. When you put it into damaged tissue, there's already puncture marks, and so the lidocaine has the chance to go in there.
Yeah, it has to be raked over at least once. But like, I've had some artists where, like, I don't need it, I don't want it, and they're using it liberally, and it tells me like everything I need to know about how long this tattoo is going to take for no reason.
Yeah.
Like, they're worried about overworking or something.
That's a second red flag. That's 2 red flags in one, actually.
Yeah.
If someone's spraying Bactine early in your tattoo, you're seeing the wrong tattoo artist.
Yeah.
Bactine is reserved for that home run stretch. We've got maximum 20, 30 minutes left. Like, absolute maximum 20, 30 minutes left. And honestly, you'll basically never see me use it except for white highlights after a long tattoo.
There are 3 times in all of my sessions that I've ever asked for it.
Yeah.
There was when I was getting my right hand redone here in May. No, not May. It was July.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was July, somewhere in there.
Post-COVID,
It was,
that was.
Whenever the hell it was, I got this one done the second time.
Yeah.
Because, like, my whole memory of the last year is, like, distorted as fuck.
Of course.
because it's been such a weird year, right?
Yeah, this whole year is like a fever dream or something.
The normal landmarks that mark your year off as you go by.
And
Yeah,
also
they're not
because
here.
I think
No.
I did what? It was like 3 or 4 weeks apart. I did my right hand twice in a row within the same month because I was like, okay, I need to get this done. And then the first time you do your fingers, they always look terrible.
Of course.
They still look kind of crappy, but they need a third pass. But I mean, then you need
they
time
also
off.
look right.
Yeah, they look look good.
The way they sit now, they're still good for fingers.
Sure. So I did them. I think it was 3.5 weeks after the first time. We did them the second time, and they weren't healed on the inside, but they were healed on the outside.
Ugh.
So like I could feel there was internal damage still. So when Rick was working on them, we got about halfway through, and I actually had to ask him, "Can you spray some Bactine?"
Nice.
And I don't like, especially don't like asking Rick because
Yeah.
Rick is a proper old school guy.
Yeah.
But
Rick
I think he
hates
understood
stomach
because
cream.
he didn't rib me.
No, he wouldn't.
Because like my fingers were so sore because they weren't healed properly yet.
Yeah.
But I was so determined to do it. And
I gotta do it.
then the other time I asked for Bactine, there's 2 other times, was I hate my lower back. I asked for
does.
Bactine. It was the one time there was none at the shop.
Yeah.
So, well, I guess I'm just gonna do it. Like
Yeah.
it doesn't matter. I'm not going to do it. Just sucked more.
That's one of those things that, like, I mean, there's a good amount of people that don't understand how bad the lower back is. But it's interesting. I've always found it very interesting that, like, the trend tattoos are usually in some of the more painful spots.
Yeah, tramp stamps. Everyone had tramp
was a
stamps.
thing, and that's like you're just asking to be punished every single time because it's like you're tattooing a very sensitive area. The rib script thing,
Oh.
like liners on the ribs.
A lot of these white girl tattoos.
They're all like
I've done so many
brutal.
liners on my ribs with those little tentacles I had. We
Yeah.
were doing 1-liners and like
Yeah.
3-liners.
I've done a lot of chicks'
Oh.
collarbones.
collarbones sucks.
Yeah.
The wrist,
Oh, yeah, wow.
like right above or below the ditch, for script things. Like
Yeah, how many
there's a ton of them where it's like, why?
This soccer mom tattoo is going into level 9 locations.
Oh man!
Like, here we go.
And it's almost like I kind of wondered if it was like, okay, well, like tattooers are just mad about having to do these things, so they're putting them in terrible spots to get tattooed.
Oh, no, they want it there.
I
They want it
know.
behind the ear.
It's weird.
They all want it
The
behind...
idea of I love the idea of the masochistic tattoo artist that
Yeah, I
loves
know.
causing pain.
Yeah.
Right?
Well,
The problem
we
is
have one that kind of sits over there.
and
so.
the problem is when Lee's tattooing you and starts giggling at something on a podcast or something, right? It kind of does lend itself to that.
Yeah.
This guy doesn't care that I'm dying.
Yeah. I do that on a regular enough basis where I'll directly respond to the podcast
Yeah.
as if I'm just like joining in that conversation. Meanwhile, my client has not been paying attention. They've been
Well, they're
off in
zoned
their own
out in
space.
pain or something, yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then they're going, never mind. Not
You
not
just
for
go back
you.
to wherever you were,
Yeah, we're good here.
wherever your happy place was that you're. Trying
Whatever's
To
helping you endure this is.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But then that idea of the masochistic tattoo artist is it's funny because it's not like you didn't ask for this, right?
Yep.
Like it's always like you wouldn't be feeling this way if you didn't want to be. So it's not like anyone's punishing you,
Yeah.
right? So you don't have any right to complain. The people who are like, "Oh, it hurts," like that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I will say though, like
I mean, I've got some of those, but
probably one of my worst things about being here is that I don't like. I know I have the ability to tap. You know what I mean? Like I've got that
Because
freedom.
you can always just get it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Except for when we have guest artists, then it's kind of like, well, you sit, you got to get it done.
Or I'm gonna devil's advocate this concept
Okay.
a little bit.
Go for it.
Maybe you feel more pressure to not tap because enough of your peers and associates are surrounding you that you're like, nah, I gotta tough it out. Just like getting tattooed at a convention. You know, if you're a tattoo artist getting tattooed at a convention, you're like, I got a blank face, I'm not gonna twitch, I'm not gonna move a muscle. You know, if you're a tattoo artist getting tattooed at a convention, you're surrounded by your peers. You've got to be an example of sitting like a rock and not showing anything.
I can do that to a point, but after that, I'm like, once you get past 3 hours with me, I'm just.
You become very pliable.
I am looking for an out. I am checking the exits, man. Well, you've tattooed me. You know what that's like. Get to that 3-4 hour mark, and then all of a sudden I'm like, well, maybe today is good. You know, maybe fine. Maybe you got what you need today.
I was gonna ask, have you ever tapped out?
I don't think so.
I've never tapped out.
Oh, I've tapped out.
I'm not bragging. It's just like, usually what happens with me is we get to the point where we were going to go, and I'll be happy about it.
So once you're in the industry, though, you realize that there's two different kinds of tap outs. There's the hard tap out where you're mid session and someone goes, I can't go on.
Mm-hmm.
Then there's the soft tap out, which is, hey, well, we got that piece finished. Like, what do you want to do with the background? Should we carry on these clouds today? Should we finish these mountains today? And then it's the soft tap out is that point where
you go, we'll get that next time.
Yeah. Oh, let's just leave that for next time.
See, I've never done that one either. Because if a tattoo artist ever offers me to go more, I always go, yeah, of course.
I feel like I've probably pulled a soft tap out or two in my time.
I've pulled a soft tap out with you.
Oh, you sure have, yeah.
And then I've done a hard tap out on this arm.
Yeah. With Lee.
Yeah, we started shading on, and I think it's because I'm a guinea pig as well. From time to time, because like when we were doing, like we've been doing this.
Was he doing opaque grays at the time?
No, it was.
He's done some on me.
Because opaque grays are a pain in the butt. I almost said the C word.
Like the koi here.
Yeah.
The one that I tapped out on was actually just doing the black shading, which is like, we only tattooed for like 45 minutes.
Really?
And I was like, I hadn't eaten.
Right.
I got sick like immediately after, like a cold.
Oh yeah.
So I just think my body was
low.
I just think my body was done.
Yeah.
And it was just like 45 minutes in, and I was like,
45 minutes with Lee is 2 hours with anyone else.
Yes, I guess I should
just
qualify
before
that.
we get into anything else.
I should qualify that.
Because he could do my whole arm. Like, we touch up the whole arm in like an hour.
His Soul Nova is a time machine.
Well, and that was,
as soon as he touches you, everything slows down.
So this was the first day he had his Soul Nova.
Yeah.
Too.
Okay, there we go.
So we were testing a new machine.
I nailed that one.
But I will say, the machine was super gentle in comparison to what I would experience normally, and but like my body was just like, no, I'm done. I can't possibly do this for some reason, and then I got sick.
Fun fact: do you know the Soul Nova Unlimited?
Yeah.
Is available now.
Yeah.
For sale.
The second one too.
And it's $1,400. The 4 mil stroke.
4 mil stroke.
Yeah. For $1,400
for some color packing.
I'm considering it.
I would consider it as well, except for the fact that like I don't think you like it.
You don't think so?
With your style, I don't think you'll like it.
Fair.
The Soul Nova is some ingenious engineering. I will say that. A lot of people, like, I'm a big nerd with this thing, right? So like I am.
Explain to everyone and myself included.
We're just talking gibberish, aren't we?
Yeah.
No, it's not gibberish. I know a little, but most people won't have any idea what the hell you're talking about.
Okay, so
we're talking about tattoo machines.
Sure. Yes, I know that.
Some high end ones.
Soul Nova. What is so good about this piece in particular?
Well, they just came out with the wireless version.
Yeah.
So it comes with a battery pack built in.
Yeah.
$1,400 gets you a machine and 2 battery packs. However, the Soul Nova, the wired version, is also kind of a revolutionary tattoo machine in that I'm not going to get into the details, but there are some adjustments you can do. There's some adjustments that it can do that allow you a little bit of variation and responsiveness from the skin, where a standard rotary machine completes its cycle, goes all the way down, all the way back up, full stroke every time, without any sensitivity to the skin, without any give, without any springiness, without any kickback, whereas the Soul Nova has a couple of electronic bits of technology in it that allow it to slow down in softer skin, speed up in harder skin.
It's actually the exact opposite.
Okay.
Weirdly enough, because what ends up happening is you get this, you get a sag from the motor engaging with resistance, right?
Yes.
So what ends up happening in the Soul Nova is you have 2 different options. You have the classic, which in a rotary, as it hits skin, depending on where you are in the skin, it's going to have more resistance on the motor. And yes, it will complete its cycle, but it's going to take, if you run a constant voltage and you put resistance on this end, the voltage is not going to be enough to complete its cycle at the speed that it started at.
Right. So we'll slow it down a little bit.
Yeah. So, and that's one of the reasons that like these, when they were trying to go for softer hit machines, it was you were getting a like less rotation or less length of rotation, which was easier on the motor. So you can combat that a number of ways. You get a stronger motor, or you get a weaker motor, and you kind of lean into it. This, what it does is it has a hard hit function, because it's normal, like the normal the normal rotaries are all going to have a little bit of sag when they're interacting with different parts of the body that are either harder or easier to work with.
So, for the client getting tattooed, what's the difference going to be?
It'll probably be,
In this case, definitely not less pain
no.
Yeah.
under any
Yeah,
circumstances.
because like when you switch it onto the hard hit motion or the hard hit function, what it's
Nothing
doing
about hard
is
hit says less pain.
Yeah,
Yeah.
hard hit sounds like it's going to hurt more. And go on.
Well, it depends. It's like a balancing
Yeah, give me the
act,
hard
right?
hit one. I want that one.
So it's a balancing act because
Yeah.
if you have a softer hit, it might not get the ink in more efficiently.
Which means
so
you're
gonna
working
be-
at a
You're
second
working
time.
more. Yeah.
You're
Yeah.
going to be tortured for longer. So what ends up happening with the Sol Nova is that it has a little sensor in it that will allow it to vary the voltage to make up for that sag. So that as you hit tougher areas of skin, you're going to get a little bump in power, so it doesn't feel like you've hit a tougher part of skin.
Oh yeah. It's
So-
just more understanding of the human body, basically.
And it's to make it more like because like with a coil machine has a slap.
Yep.
Got
Do
a
it.
snap to it.
And-
But that snap is also a springiness. When the coil machine is actually striking down, it's breaking contact, and that magnet is no longer pulling it. So the snap you get is all the snap you get, or the snap you get from that one
Movement.
magnetic burst kind of happens once instantaneously and then stops. So basically that needle only has so much force to go down and will go a certain tension or a certain pressure into your skin and then naturally return,
Well, I'll tell you
ready
something.
to fire again.
When I was early on getting tattooed, I used to say that Rick was incredibly painful to get tattooed by compared to some other people I got tattooed by later. But as I went through multiple different artists, I realized that that's actually not true.
No, it's
So
not.
what's actually true is that second by second, Rick hurts more.
Yeah.
However, in the grand scheme of the tattoo session, you're going to experience less pain with someone who's working in one spot and moving on
Yep.
Right.
and doing more pain in each spot as they go, like second by second, and never goes back to an area.
That's right. That's
so
right.
Once Rick's finished here,
He's finished.
he's finished here.
Yep.
He does not come back here. There's
Yeah.
no point in the session when he's working here again. He's goes from here down and never goes back.
Yeah.
That's
There's
why I feel so bad for my color clients. Like,
Because you got to
yesterday-
keep going back
Well,
in
yeah,
everywhere.
in color, like, especially my style of color. I'm so blending oriented.
I've had a lot of color blending done on
And
me.
yesterday I was doing a nearly symmetrical piece, so there's a lot of matching segments here and here.
Yeah.
So you'd regularly go and work. You'd work 2 sections of darks here, 2 sections of darks here, 2 sections of lights here, 2 sections of lights here, 2 sections of highlights, 2 sections of highlights, and I was bouncing back and forth along that piece over and over again.
And if you don't know what you're doing, you'll turn that into hamburger.
Oh yeah, that's the thing.
Well,
Yeah.
and like
That happened to my wrist.
Yeah.
that makes
Big
it
time.
even more impressive that guy sat the way he did. Because when you're going back and you
That's
have
what
to
I'm saying.
engage with fully saturated tissue,
Yep.
oh, that sucks.
So now I would be more afraid, but so I only do 2 color pieces a month, right?
Yeah.
But 2 color pieces ago, I had a second appointment with that chick 10 days later for a totally different tattoo. So I got to see one of my color tattoos 10 days into healing.
Yeah.
She walked back in, and these are fully saturated flowers.
Oh, they look
They
perfect.
were all blended. She walked in 10 days later. They were healed, perfect skin,
Yeah.
brilliantly saturated.
Yeah.
Well, that's good.
Yeah, so I don't feel any fear now.
Were
like-
you nervous about seeing her?
Not nervous, but I knew that there was a risk. Like I worked
Yeah.
those flowers quite hard compared to my black and gray work.
Yeah.
So I was expecting to see some sort of dry skin still, maybe a little bit of silver skin at the very least.
Did
But she walked in perfect skin.
my eye has been colored, I think, 5 or 6 times.
Yeah.
but the first 2 times it was done, there's just so many colors in there, and like it was so vibrant the first time, and then basically as soon as it healed, it was like weird mud.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
like
Wait,
pink and yellow and orange, like vomit.
So this is where I tell people that every aspiring tattoo artist, every apprentice should spend some time doing stick and poke, saturating color with stick and poke. If you saturate color with stick and poke, you know exactly what it looks like to have color in the skin versus not have color in the skin. The last job I worked at, I unfortunately was training a whole series of apprentices. And it was incredible to watch them doing a tattoo, and you could see them not saturate the ink, but still wipe and move on from the space.
Oh no.
And so I'd stand over them and tell them, no, go back. You see that spot right there? Can you see the difference from this little tiny spot that is saturated and the rest of this, which has got this kind of weird pinkish hue? You know, she was saturating red at the time. Has this weird pinkish hue. Now slow your hand down and do a little piece at a time. So stick and poke teaches you very quickly what is saturated and what is not.
Yeah.
And I've got, I probably have 150 hours of my own stick and poke work on me. And that'll teach you a lot real fast. You know exactly what saturated is and what saturated is not.
Yeah. You get to a point where, like, I mean, everybody will talk about this, but you feel where the ink goes in.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, there's just no way around it. And I like...
Well, especially if you're just using such a small needle, you can tell even the difference of pain, right?
That's
If
right.
this spot is saturated, you can feel that it's saturated.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like you're gonna feel that
Yep.
that's already been hit
Yep.
and
Yeah.
it's full.
Yeah. Now if someone stick and pokes me, I can tell them not deep enough, not deep enough, too deep, too deep.
Well, that was like when I was doing those dots on my leg. I started doing them on a pass, and then, like, Lee came by, and he's like, oh, you're being real nice to yourself, aren't you? I was like, oh, I am.
Ah, darn it.
And then, yeah, you have to... It's either in or it's not.
That's right.
Yeah.
There's no
That's
way
right.
around it.
And if it's not in, you're just gonna end up back there again anyway.
Well, it's going to be crap.
Yeah.
Well, and there
You
is
know?
such a thing
Yeah.
as too deep as well, but you
Yep.
got to know them both.
Yeah.
That's
Not
what
too
makes
deep,
it a
and then
skill.
you dig things, right? I've been dug pretty deep before.
Yeah.
I had these 2 roses, like here and here, and I had this giant, long, like craggly scab. It was like this.
Was there like a purple blowout at all?
No, it wasn't like that. It just it ended up healing really white, like
Yeah.
almost like there was nothing there.
Yeah,
So
you
th-
just
so-
got torn up.
That sounds more like overworked
It
versus
was
blowout.
what I think happened is she was running her machine
That's
Too
it.
too high
That's
high
a
and
too high
moving
of a
too
stitch
slow
frequency. That's
or something.
Yeah.
Like I'm trying to figure out
'cause you-
retrospectively, but
well,
I'm not a tattooer.
You can move your machine too slow and have it set up too high.
Yeah.
And churn up those top layers of skin
Yeah.
until they're hamburger
Yeah.
without ever blowing out.
And man, oh man.
So that's
no.
the difference between overworked and too deep.
Well, that one
Whereas-
wasn't overworked. I got overworked on this whole arm was
Let me
overworked.
show you overworked.
This whole arm was like when I got my wrist done the first time on this arm,
Yeah.
it was like a cuff. It was so vibrantly colored. Like it was like flame, like it was like a flame cuff
Yeah.
kind of thing. It had like yellow and orange and red and black, and it was like really well like saturated, so it looked.
Yeah.
And then my hand blew up into like this weird gauntlet.
Oh, good.
And when it all kind of came back down finally and shriveled up, like all of it fell out, and it was
Yeah.
like this weird, like withered, like Sarah said, it looked like I had like a Freddy Krueger arm.
And I'm sure the ink wasn't going in.
Oh God, no.
Yeah.
And
I'm
then,
impressed people still get tattooed after all this crap.
oh,
Man, like, so, I mean, this is also, like, something about the psychology of getting tattooed. Like, I think a lot of people use tattooing in, like,
Therapeutic.
yeah, in a very therapeutic way. Like, I mean, memorial tattoo is a very common
Yep.
thing that we
Yeah.
get here.
Yep.
of course.
And even just like, I don't know. I mean, you have a better authority on this because you get tattooed consistently. But
Yeah.
like, you get this you get this way about you where you haven't had a tattoo in a while, and it becomes like problematic. You
Oh,
get the-
yeah.
we always talk about the itch for ink, right? Like, there is something to that in terms of like, I never remember the session as bad. ever.
Right.
I never do. And even on the one where I have to tap out or whatever, like, I don't ever remember them as a negative thing.
As long
I
as you
always
got
remember them as
something done,
positive.
right?
But, like, I don't remember the pain.
I do.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie.
I'll tell you what I do
From
remember.
Me or just...
I
No,
remember.
yours don't hurt that bad.
That's good.
You're barely scratching around.
good.
I remember complications because of tattoos,
Yeah.
and I remember tattoos not going well.
Yeah.
And I remember having to fix tattoos. I remember awkwardly having to tell tattoo artists that it didn't work. Right? These are
That's
the
so
things
funny.
I remember.
Yeah.
I don't remember suffering.
Yeah.
When I told you that the time when I was getting my wrist touched up, and the guy was like, "Get in that skin," like he was like out loud, like getting frustrated because
On what part of your body?
my wrist. He was like,
Really?
Which, like,
working-
the wrist is so easy.
but
compared
like
to
it
so
wasn't
many other
working.
areas.
No matter what he did, he was trying to touch it up, and it was just like, I'm watching this guy get so worked up and frustrated,
Yeah.
and then he's giving me different aftercare advice and stuff, and I'm like, I'm getting tattooed by 5 people at this point in my life, and you're the only one that can't get the tattoo to work, and it's now my fault. And all I could think was, and I mean it, even though he was tattooing me and I'm in pain, I felt worse for him. I was like, I wish he could figure this out. And I'm not able to tell you exactly how to do it, but there's part of me that wanted to take the machine away from him. And
Yeah.
I might have a better shot at this than you now. Because, like, it was just so, like, I felt embarrassed for him.
Yeah.
And sad for him a little bit because you could tell he really wanted to do well.
It's not a good feeling. You know
No.
what I mean? Like that.
Oh yeah, failure sucks.
Yeah, failure's the worst, especially with permanence on skin.
Yeah.
Like
Well, in the moment, someone is looking at you while you're working on their body, and you're failing. You're sitting here like sweating. I'm gonna do this.
Yeah.
I hope.
Well, let's say I eventually had him, black out this hand for me the first time.
Yeah.
Like just to hear before I hit the fingers. And it was like he was upset to be doing black work because he thought he's an artist and he doesn't like doing black work.
Wow.
So he thought it was dumb, but he was going to do it because I've been going to him for a long time anyway. He's like, yeah, I can do that. It'll be easy.
Ugh,
My hand blew up.
easy.
My hand is like a baseball mitt, right? Like it was just like massive, and that's kind of normal for hand tattoos. But like this time, it was like a rock,
Yeah.
like solid,
like
crusty,
exaggerated silly.
blown up. Yeah, like a Mickey Mouse hand or something, or foam finger.
Yeah.
And anyway, when it healed, I had like no black. It was like gray and like negative space and like
Really?
little specklies.
That
and-
was the same guy I couldn't get in your wrist.
yeah. And then it was like, well, there, I did what you wanted me to
This
do.
is one of
and
those fool me twice.
I told you it would
shame
look
on me
stupid.
things.
Yeah, I told you it would look stupid, but I did it. It's like, so then I had Lee do it,
Yeah.
and it was 100% better.
Oh
like,
yeah.
And he did it in like 20 minutes, where
Well,
this guy took 2 hours.
It's a hand. Even if some knuckles heal out, even if there's a weak spot in the black, so what? That's normal. At least you got the black in there and didn't spend hours just damaging your skin.
Well, it honestly looked almost like Lee tattooed my wrist. Like it was like that solid.
Yeah, yeah.
Like it didn't have any problems.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it sounds
He
like
shouldn't, but
what kind of work did he do normally? The other guy. Like, was it like
A little bit of
lines,
everything.
or was it like?
It's like where I always say, like, Rick is kind of like a jack of all trades.
Yeah.
But this guy was sort of like that, but getting none of it done properly.
Did this guy move away like 3 years ago?
No, he's still here.
Oh, okay, never mind.
Oh boy.
So I did a cover up 2 weeks ago on a guy's hand where that sort of thing happened. The back of his hand was 2/3 done.
Yeah.
Was it?
I don't know.
I don't think so. I think it was a different one. Because that guy was going to Braden for a while, and then Braden stopped talking to him. But it sounds like the dude who messed up his hand was the guy before Braden.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, the guy who did this was not.
Oh, that would make sense.
He's still in the city and still, I mean, barely. I barely ever see anything, but
Just barely scratching away.
like I just.
I'm so curious to know now. Can you spell it for me in sign language or something?
We can
I'll
say
tell
it
you
off
after.
camera.
But because I don't really want to like I'm not here to try and
The push of
trash.
band.
Yeah, I know. It just
But like
edging
it
there.
just nothing he did worked.
But I'm curious now.
And then he did one on my wife, like, and it's like one of the only tattoos she has that it's like a 30-minute tattoo and it didn't work.
Oh, that's such a
wow.
bummer.
It's like a little. They were doing Halloween flash and it's a ghost, and it's just an outline, and even that isn't solid.
Oh boy.
It's like, man, I don't understand this.
Well, I mean, it's a fear of not putting ink in the skin. Like, I don't know. There's no other way around it. You either put it in there or you don't.
Or you're using the wrong needles with the wrong machines.
But today, nowadays,
That
is there an excuse for that?
there's no excuse.
Even like the cheapest
but you can do
cartridges
it.
are pretty good compared to the way that it was 10, 15 years ago.
So here's the alternative though. Suppose now all of a sudden you're ordering from Mithra, Canada,
Yeah.
using Fight brand needles with cartridges, with tubes that don't quite fit the groupings properly, with an old coil machine that you didn't tune properly.
Then all of
And
a sudden, yeah,
all of a sudden you're
gonna
scratching
have a
the
bad
surface.
time.
You're gonna have a bad time.
Yeah.
Your speed is way too fast, too slow.
Here's a question for you.
Yeah.
So, talking about what happened to his wrist, okay?
Yeah.
So say it's a coil machine because I'm not super well versed
Yeah.
in coil machines. It kind of sounds like running a machine that isn't tuned to hit the skin in a way that's going to actually do anything, right? Like it's like
Well,
too soft of a
I
hit.
should say that first session that I was talking about, for the record, was a 6-hour session in this area, like from here to here,
Yep.
of just color blending, like yellow, red, orange,
God.
like lighter shades of all of those, darker shades, a little bit of black.
Like my wife has a whole sleeve that is like unfortunately having to get like sorry, I guess I should say luckily Lee is fixing for
Yeah.
her, but like her sleeve was done by someone that just doesn't know.
Yeah, I know who you're talking about.
Yeah, and like she went through this whole thing, like a full sleeve, paying for it and all, and it was just one of those like it was always the promise of, oh yeah, we'll get to that. But now that I look back at it, because I knew nothing about tattoos at the point that she was getting it, it was one of those like, oh, there's no way this person could have ever delivered this.
Right.
There's like she just doesn't understand. It's like and it is what it is. But they were like, yep, absolutely, it'll be everything you want and more. And now that like all that tissue has been damaged because it's a full color, full saturated sleeve, like every time they have to go into it,
Heavily scarred.
oh man,
Yeah,
she
I
has
know.
the worst time healing.
I know that same person did some work on me.
Oh yeah. Whereabouts?
That was the first blackout,
Oh
up
yeah.
here. and one over here, and she did my throat.
Wow.
She did my throat and like the rose mantle,
Yeah.
all that heavy red
Yeah.
that I had here. All of
Really?
that, all of it is just caked in scar.
Crikey.
Dude.
But in here was the most nightmarish of all, which is what started the whole blackout process. Because like Lee was eyeing it, because Lee and I have been working together for 5 years, 6 years, something like that. Whatever. And he's always looked at that and he's like, yeah, I think the only thing that you could do with that is black it out. And like
Here you
we would
are.
always like, yeah, like what can you do, right? Like it's just such a mess of weird nonsense happening.
Yeah.
Like, and then when we got into it, it was so much harder to cover than he even thought it would be.
Of course.
And he was just like sweating trying to get it out. And there's
Yeah.
like one guy here that Rick
Just kinda keeps hanging out.
hit again
Yeah.
earlier this year because he just kept popping back out.
I can
'cause
still
it's-
see the scarring.
scar
Like,
was just so thick in there
Yeah.
that it's like it's coming back to life.
Yeah.
But
And
yeah,
that's-
she did so much damage to that skin that, yeah, there was almost nothing you could do because it was so many different colors and different weird things going on that didn't make any kind of sense.
So something like that can also get scarred up. So if you look at a line that's scarred but not blown out, that line is often because they had to go over it several times, or they were running the machine too fast and going too slow. So they're turning that skin up. But there's also the possibility when it gets into color that as color doesn't saturate well, your natural tendency is to just start moving your hand faster and going over it more times, kind of getting a higher
frustration.
frequency
Well,
of like.
I will say she had really, really bright reds. That was the only thing. Like I always try and find the silver lining.
Yeah.
It's like this stuff. It wasn't all super saturated. I had to touch it up, but like what was there was like packed. Like it was packed in red. Like the red was. I mean, you remember what my old red stuff looked like? Like it was freaking red. So
But also, like, you heal color pretty well.
I mean, I don't know if that's all her or some me or what it is, but like that red wasn't barely in. It was there. It was there, but like the outlines of the roses were blown out.
Yeah.
Like I could tell where they were all smudgy and
Yeah.
like there's like this ghost line gray over every black outline, and you're like, I mean, the red's in.
Like on my wife's sleeve, every liner is blown out.
Yep, that's the same as what.
Every line. It was just one of the, and like now looking back on it, I was like, I look at it going like, oh, I can't believe.
Well, now
I
that
can't
you-
believe.
Now imagine that on your throat.
Oh.
And imagine like, okay, so because earlier I was talking about the 3 times I asked for Bactine.
Yeah.
And the other time was also on my throat. When the last time
Seems
when I was
fair.
trying to get that, there was like this like circle on my neck still, and Rick and I were trying to get that thing out of here for good.
Yeah.
And it was only like 30, 40 minutes into the appointment, and I just couldn't bear anymore. I could not do any, because it's been blacked out 3
Few
times. It was touched up twice after the initial throat tattoo. So my throat's been done 6 times. But like that last time, I could just barely hang on for the ride. Like I really wanted it done, but I was dying. Like this whole area was like killing me.
Oh,
So I was
man.
like, I need Bactine or I'm not going to make it.
A sucker for punishment.
I
Tell you
ate
what.
it. I ate even asking. But man, I just needed it gone, and I don't know if I'll ever touch that spot again. We'll see.
Don't recommend. I'd
My
avoid
only
it.
like, because I have to advise a lot of people on doing these numbing things from time to time, and the only thing that I would say is like when you need it, great.
Yeah.
But
But
if you don't
plan on
need
needing it,
if you don't need it, if it's not in a really bad spot, and if you're not going to be done right afterwards, if you have to keep going on, because like I swear having the lidocaine there when it's gone, I feel like it makes everything a little.
But
bit
yeah,
more
you
sensitive.
have your body hasn't acclimatized as much as
Yeah.
it would have.
And there's certain artists that like are just forcing people to do this now, like it's you have no excuse. You're kind of booked in. Lidocaine is going to be what's happening, and
Yeah.
they'll do the 30-minute set. 30
It makes
minute set,
it
and
less on an individual level.
Yeah.
I think then you have less. Like I'm sure a lot of these big Instagram tattooers who have an image they're protecting, and they're not going to accept less than that. They're
Yeah.
not going to let you walk away with something that could make them look bad anymore.
right?
So what they're doing is going, nope, this is factored into the price. You sit down. This is on you. I finished the tattoo.
Yep.
Here's the picture.
Well, a lot of them, like the big guys, they're scheduling in multiple days with their client
Yep.
for photo, like because a lot of the clean photographs you're going to see are going to be the second day. So it's like you do your tattoo, and whether or not that's all in one sit, a lot of people have a hard time understanding that too. A lot of the big artists do not do these things in one sit.
Yes.
Yeah.
A lot of them. And
You'll see something that's super cool and go, wow, I don't know if I could recreate that incredibly realistic or incredibly stylized piece.
Yeah.
And then you realize that they might have spent 6 sessions on it.
yes,
When someone coming to me is not looking to spend multiple sessions doing one lion. They're looking to come in and get a lion and
Yeah.
go the fuck home afterwards.
I want to get a lion today.
Yes.
Which like it just depends what level you're
Different part of
wanting
the
to go
market.
at, right? Because
And
like
I mean, this is small town. We just don't have the clientele that's looking to come spend $2,000, or sorry, in that case, more like $4,000 on a lion. They're here for their $800 lions. So they can go home.
yes.
I have a great example of that. I have the Witch King that Rick did on the
Yep.
back of my thigh. That guy probably cost, I would say, $3,000.
Yep.
3,500 somewhere in there,
Because
because
he's 6 sits.
it was a long tattoo.
Yeah.
Like it was a lot of shading, a lot of fine details. I also had a Witch King on my arm. I don't have him anymore. He was from one session.
Yeah.
And he was, like little Mario, I always say. He was small. There was not that much detail. I didn't get exactly what I wanted with him. Like, he was just kind of there, like in a weird spot.
Yep.
Where he's like, hi, I'm on the inside of your arm, right? It's like, this is why he's not here anymore. That's also why he was able to be done in one session.
Yep.
If I had a planned ahead, maybe I could have made a whole arm out of that or something. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
And then it would have been that $3,500 or whatever. Because if you're willing to, if you want to get something good, it should take more than one session
If you
typically.
want to get something good, you should go bigger anyway.
Yeah.
Right? That's the trick we're learning over time.
Well, we
Bigger
also
is
don't
better.
need that much shit.
No.
Like, because you'll end up with a sleeve where it's like, I have this one spot here. What do I want to put there? Oh, I like a moon. I'd like a moon. I'll put a moon there. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, you end up adding on. It's like fridge magnets all over the place.
Yeah.
So we don't ever have the insight when we're first getting started of what our whole concept is going to be.
I think also there's like because I think there's a justification that seems to have to take place for most people when it comes to getting a tattoo.
Early in their tattoo career.
Early in their tattoo career, because like the more tattoos you get, the less you care about that.
Oh, yeah.
But like,
You don't say.
Jeremy's one tattoo.
How many tattoos do you have?
I only have one, but it's pretty big,
my
though.
body.
It's pretty big.
But like that's one of the things that you'll see with people that, and I think I was a version of this because I put off getting tattoos for a long time because I felt like I had to justify it or there had to be some sort of significance thing. Whereas realistically, what I wanted was the aesthetic of in my case, it was a sleeve. And the only thing that had much significance were the roses because it was my grandpa's favorite, or my opa in this case, but my opa's favorite flower were roses, and he died. So it was one of those, like, this is a way to include something. But it took me a long time, and my wife telling me, like, hey, you could just do this for yourself. You don't need to actually, like, give it something else. Like, you don't have to do that. You can just get it because you want it.
Yeah, you can have this.
And that was like I don't know why that was such like a realization for me, but it was like, oh, I could just get one. But I see so many people that are like, okay, I want to get this, and then it also has to have this and this and this and this and this and this, and they like need to pack 90 tattoos into one.
I think, have you ever seen like a lot of these like especially old school tattoo models where you don't even really care what they have on them. You just see a lot of coverage. You're like, oh, that looks great, and you never really inspect the individual. You don't like pull it up.
A boot.
Yeah, it's a boot.
And a spin dial telephone.
Yeah,
and
it's just weird shit.
A random boat, even though she's from Kansas.
But it looks cool though, right?
Yeah,
It does look cool.
Tattoos in general are an aesthetic.
Yep.
It's like those old shirts and pants they used to make where it was like they had sleeves, like American traditional sleeves.
Yep.
Where it's like it kind of looks cool even though you know it's not.
That's right. Exactly.
Well, that's also one of those things that when I see the meaningful tattoo take precedence over the something looking good on the body, I really have a hard time with that.
So, I've got a story on the subject.
Bring it.
I had a consult with a woman who wanted 3, and then, she's a bit bigger. She wanted 3 big roses on her shoulder here with an owl in it. I was like, great. This sounds like a fantastic idea.
Yeah.
Give me a couple cool references. I'm like, cool, I'm going to do it in my black and gray style anyway. No problem. 2 days before the tattoo, get a phone call from her. Hey, just wondering if we can change it around a little bit. I'd also like you to add a butterfly, a transport truck, and a shoe.
These things all work together.
No.
See, that's like
Okay, how about we take out that owl and put in a butterfly?
oh,
You know how good a choice a butterfly is in black and gray?
it's not great.
Like, you can do it right,
Yeah.
but it's hit or miss.
It's gonna kind of look like a moth.
Exactly.
Like,
it's not a good choice.
You need the color to show.
They're very two-dimensional.
They're very blasé. You're better off. A moth in black and gray will come out cooler than a
100%.
butterfly in black and gray.
Yeah.
So anyway, now she's got 3 roses and a butterfly. Thank God. No
transport truck, no
truck.
shoe. A freaking shoe, buddy.
What if
Like, what makes you think that a shoe is going to look good in your tattoo?
What if you had a set of butterfly wings on the truck? Hey?
That's probably better.
And instead of tires, the truck had shoes.
Yeah.
The butterfly truck. Butter truck.
I bet you if you had a pitched it to her that way,
But
you could have made it seem artistic.
I'll do it full length down her arm.
Yeah.
Like, ooh, we're gonna have some wind bars in there and stuff. It's gonna look really good.
There are wind bars.
Of course, we're gonna blend it all together. And trust me, I have a vision for this. And you make it a really cool tattoo, but it's also an awful tattoo.
Of course.
That's like those.
Anytime you want a truck and a shoe, it's a bad tattoo.
I just always go with the principle of like, do you ever see this? Ever.
Right.
If you don't, there's a good reason for it.
Would you put a truck and a shoe with some flowers as a picture on your wall in your kitchen? No. Then why would you wear
That's
that
another
on
thing
your
I was gonna
shoulder to
say.
your daughter's wedding?
The things people get tattooed on them are different from the things they decorate with.
Yeah.
Have you ever noticed this? Like when you were talking about roses, I was really thinking about like how many people have roses for so many different reasons. And then you wonder if you go to their houses, how many roses are on the wall.
But roses count because people have roses in their gardens.
Fair.
People do that on a regular basis.
Yeah. And I love roses.
think
I like
are a good
roses
pass.
too. I'm
Yeah.
not. I've had tons of roses tattoos. I probably had over 20, I would say.
Yeah.
I just think the hardest thing is that, like, a good tattoo and a thing that you like sometimes are not the same thing.
Yeah.
Because,
Yeah.
like, we get this a lot with flowers. There's so many people that love so many different types of flowers, and almost none of them look good as tattoos.
Yeah.
Like, everybody's favorite, the sunflower.
Like I realize this narcissus signifies something to you.
Yeah.
Do you have a lot of pictures of narcissus in your house?
Yeah.
Have you ever Sharpied one on yourself? I don't think so.
And, like, I mean...
Doesn't flow well. Yeah.
It's just one of those, like, there's some... And I don't expect Joe Average to understand that. You know what I mean? I really don't. Because, like, they're going to say, like, oh, it has meaning for me. And they won't see that, like, oh, this is a pale white flower that is this big. And it's not going to look good. You're going to have basically one tone, and then the rest has to be black around it, I guess, to make the shape of it. Because that's not how this works.
I mean, you can use opaque grays.
Sure. Yeah.
Really,
But
you know.
to get a white flower? No.
Oh, if you,
You know
in, a
what I
color,
mean?
in a color tattoo, yes.
Different.
Right. In a black and gray tattoo, no.
Yeah, and that's where, like, you know, you have to start telling people, like, okay, no, you got to do color.
I gotta tell you, opaque gray is a strange thing because you'd think with it being so light, it would be incredibly easy to cover.
Oh,
I had some
no.
opaque gray on my elbow.
Yeah.
And look at the difference in the black
Oh,
versus
wow.
Oh, that's
because the
Wow.
opaque gray didn't really want to go away.
Yeah.
Now we're
Goodness.
working it out, but like,
Well,
good
the
lord.
opaque gray is 90% white.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, maybe more.
Yeah.
It's mostly white.
With
And
a
that
little bit of black.
And that stuff stays in there.
Yep.
Yeah.
It stays.
Yeah,
well,
it's been
if
a
it stays. That's the weird
Well,
thing. Yeah, some people have a
It's
hard
also
time
super
with
hard
white.
to get in, man.
Yeah.
my elbow was completely opaque gray.
Well, you got it done with someone that was hammering that in there, right?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, Lee smashed that in there.
but like, you know, a lot of people don't understand that there's a big difference in inks viscosities, and that's going to be different in terms of how it feels, how it heals, all that stuff. Like as you engage with the color white, like white is thick. It's
Yeah.
very thick. So anytime you go into more pale tones, they all have that tendency. So if you get an artist that can put them in there well, lighter colors, they just like to hold.
Yeah, it's the same thing. I had some green and yellow in this
Yeah.
lower sleeve.
Yeah.
And like you can still, like it's not like oh it's really there, but like you can see the outline
Yeah.
of those old colors if you look closely.
Yep.
There was like green in my ditch, like green lines, and you can see a slightly lighter shade of black there.
Yeah.
Where it's like that green and yellow really didn't want to leave.
No, it really doesn't. And like, which is good if it's done well and you want your tattoo to last. It's
Yeah.
not great if you want to cover it up later because it was done badly.
What I find funny is when you were talking a few weeks ago about like people who come in and they're like, I've heard color doesn't stay. Like,
Yeah.
so here we're in like the abstract far fringes of the tattoo realm,
Yeah.
talking about how hard it is to cover color.
Yeah.
And some people still believe that you can't get color to stay.
Color to stay. Yeah.
Like-
Every time I show anybody like the color that I have, they're always
Yeah.
like, "Whoa, it's so vibrant!" Like, yeah, it
Yeah.
is, because that's how color is now.
Yeah,
Like, I
especially
understand back in the day, and again, machines were different, needles were different, like the ink pigment was different. But man, nowadays you can do a lot with color.
And that's kind of the funny thing that I always have a hard time explaining to people when they're like, "Oh, your old tattoo suit was so perfect." Like, I'm like, actually, no, it wasn't. It wasn't. There was a lot of problems, like tons. But they don't see those things. They just seen that the color was really bright.
Yeah.
Like, it's all very bright, so it must be done well.
Well, and also it was done.
Yeah, it was done.
Like there's a lot of times where when something is done and it's like it is a big piece, especially, it's like, "Oh, cool, you did it."
Yeah.
Like, which is fair.
Look,
it's kinda
you
like,
did it.
Yeah, it's kind of like, "Oh, we went on a road trip and we finished the road trip. It happens to be in Albuquerque, but we finished the road trip."
Yeah.
Like-
Also, a lot of things look good from 10 kilometers away.
Yeah, if you were to get up
Yeah.
close on that stuff, it's like it all starts falling apart under the microscope.
Yeah.
Like, it's like, oh, wow, that line didn't really get ran. Oh, that line's kind of falling apart. Oh, that tentacle isn't shaded.
Yeah.
That one is.
Especially if you're looking 6 months later.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think with bigger tattoos, people have less care for that for some reason.
I've seen people walk in with work from some like really sketchy artists in town, and just because it's big and cohesive enough, they're like, "Oh yeah, it's not that bad."
Yeah.
Or they actually think it's quite nice, just because it's large and you get close to it and you get within 10 feet of it.
Yeah.
And you're going, "No, it's quite terrible." But just because it's big enough that you stand back and look at their body, it fits their body well enough. It's there.
Yeah.
You can see some pattern to whatever mandala-y thing is part of it.
Yeah.
And therefore it's a success.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it was only $400.
Yeah, man. Yeah, like I understand that there's the law of economics with any of this stuff, right? Like, not everybody can afford
Not
things
everyone
of a certain level.
prioritizes the quality.
No, and that's also where it's like there's something else to tattoos other than having the aesthetic and the art on you, right?
That's right. But this does tie back into that same point. Suppose you're someone who wants that aesthetic of quite tattooed or very tattooed. And you know that you're not going to fill yourself up with $2,000 pieces.
No.
You know that you need to do this $200 or $300 at a time. So you go to your local dive shop.
You can do that cool. You know what I mean? There is the possibility to do the $200-$300 piece at a time in a very cool way. You know what I mean? I think so.
Yeah.
Oh, but I'm talking about someone who...
You're on the fast track.
I'm talking about someone who doesn't understand
Yeah.
that there is a better way.
I know. It's just
I'm talking about
makes
the
me
person who
sad.
would come in here and ask for the wrong thing and get blown away when that thing is $2,000.
Yeah.
When no, if you're trying to save money, we can do a simpler style,
Yeah.
but we're going to cover more ground faster.
Yeah.
But stop coming to me and telling me to cram 900 high detailed things.
Go
into
big,
one
bold.
part of-
You'll get better, and
Yeah.
it'll even go quicker.
If you
too.
walk in and say you want one flower right here,
Yeah.
we're gonna make you a really awesome tattoo.
Yeah.
You're gonna get a half sleeve for like $500.
Yeah.
Oh, this
Big and
leads-
bold.
This leads me to a theory.
Yeah.
The tree cuff.
Oh man,
yeah.
I feel so bad because I've built a bunch of those in lately, and I'm having a lot of fun with them.
Well,
but I
because they
should
can be-
slow the frick down.
They can be done very efficiently and cheap,
Yeah.
or they can be done very cool
Oh
and
yeah,
take a
yeah,
long
yeah,
time.
yeah.
So I think it's one of those things where it's like if you want a lot of coverage, cheap, that can be done. All of a sudden, it's like, oh, you got so much tattoos.
Yeah.
I used to think that tree cuff thing you're talking about was a real trend that was going to be done by now, but now it seems to just kind of be lingering.
Yeah.
It's been
Yeah,
years
I
now.
think you're gonna get different versions of it too.
Because it's so wholesome in some ways. Like really,
Yeah. Nature.
I want one.
I was
I'm not
wondering if
gonna-
that's
I'm not
because
gonna
we're in
get one,
Alberta,
but I
and
want
like
one.
it's really like wildlife centric here. Like,
Well, I mean, we are Rocky Mountain tattoo.
And
Yeah.
well, here in Alberta, we're so consciously aware that we're all helping smother the owls. So it makes you appreciate nature and want to get it tattooed on you before it's all gone.
Before it's all gone, yeah.
Yeah.
We have these parks that we can walk into.
That's right.
As we're destroying the rest of it.
The rest is mostly a coal mine now.
Yeah.
So
whatever, you know. I work in the coal mine, but I drive through nature on my way to it.
That's
it's really
right.
nice. I'd like
You
to.
think you
I'd like
do
to signify that.
like city by city though? You go somewhere else, and the trend is a little different, right? Like it would be something different somewhere else.
Except for, we get a lot of international artists, and they all say that thing is there.
Yeah,
I will
fair
say
enough.
that. Like, no matter who I've talked to,
It's just a very user-friendly thing, I think. Like, it's very like nature, like animals and trees and stuff. It's just very approachable.
yeah.
Well, also we're living in a generation now where we're so connected, and we're living in a generation where ourselves and even most of us, our parents, don't know life without like hot running water.
Yeah.
You know, like my dad grew up with no hot running water, grew up with no bathroom in the house, kind of thing. But that's the minority. That's the exception here.
The exception to the rule.
Most of our parents grew up with all these luxuries. Yeah. So
Well-
now we're 2 or 3 or even some of us are even 4 generations into having these luxuries and taking them for granted.
Have you ever seen Westworld?
Yeah, of course.
So my theory is that because my parents they go to Whisper Valley here, real close to town. They go every weekend pretty well, even in winter. Mm-hmm. Like they've winterized their trailer so they can go down there all year round. I think eventually we're all going to do things like that because our escapism is going to become like living like we don't have luxury, right?
That's what I'm saying.
Where like our escapism used to be, we don't have luxury, so now we'll read like fantasy books and like scientific stuff, and we'll want to live in a different reality kind of thing. Just
Well,
as
you can see it with a majority of people in terms of what they do for recreation, like the RV.
yeah.
RV is a great example of that, where we're going to take kind of as much luxury as we can fit.
RV
into
is
whatever
also
we
a
can
terrible
afford.
example of that because we're taking the luxuries of home
But-
and bringing them with
But
us.
what I'm saying is, like, people look at that as
People want,
camping.
Yeah,
people
right?
want to believe like, oh, I can go flirt with the past, or
Yeah.
I can go live in the less civilized times.
I'll give you a different example. So I've logged years overseas, right? Like I spent a lot of time abroad.
And
We're gonna talk
eventually
about
we'll talk about
Scott's.
those.
We're gonna talk about Scott's traveling
Yeah.
again. I love this. This is where we talk to
Some
Scott
days.
about traveling for 30
Dip a
seconds.
little finger in and that's it.
So the election.
So of that time abroad, 90% of that time, 75% of that time is spent sleeping, open air, tents, vans.
You're only awake
under a
10% of the
tree.
time.
Yeah.
90% of the time you're sleeping.
90% of the
Who's
time,
driving?
I'm
Like,
asleep.
what's happening?
Bro, malaria will get you.
It just knocks you on your ass.
It does. It really does.
4 months later, I'm.
So I find myself naturally drawn to this.
Yeah.
Where part of my draw to these things is, like you're saying, a bit of an appeal to the Homo sapien inside me.
Yeah.
A bit of an appeal to, hey, I kind of feel like a monkey who hasn't quite evolved to the Instagram era.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm like, I'd still kind of like to go sleep under that tree.
Yeah.
That feels
Well,
nice to me. As much as there's less security and less comfort, there's a strong appeal, and I find
This,
myself back in those situations.
Ties right into a caption for my post today that about a little over a year ago, my Instagram account was suddenly deactivated.
Mm-hmm.
Like it was just, I woke up one day and I was logged out of my account and I could not log back in. I was on my alternate account, which I wasn't even using. I was like, okay, what happened? I was 63,000 followers at that
Yeah,
point.
yeah.
So I was already pretty big Instagram. And I was like, what happened to my page? So I go onto my old account or my alternate account and I'm I'm searching for my old, like my big page
Yep.
and user not found.
Okay.
So I'm trying to figure out if I've been hacked or what's
Yeah.
happened. And I start trying to contact some of my old friends on my big account, and some of them didn't believe it was even me. Like they thought I was like impersonating until they went and found that my page didn't exist anymore.
Really?
And for 3 days, I was messaging like getting all of my people to message Instagram and report that my account was deactivated or hacked or something. And it ended up, they ended up telling me they made a mistake and they restored my account.
Gee.
But
Did they ever tell you what the mistake was?
they never told me.
That's
but
real nice.
I will say that the first day I was like in a weird catatonic kind of state over it. Like, oh, what am I gonna do? This was so much work. Like,
Yeah.
And then I was thinking,
It's
do
the
I
work lost,
do I
nothing else.
rebuild? Like, do I bother? Am I done? Like, do I care how much time this is gonna take me and how much time I've spent, how many hours a day being this character, and now it's over. And I was kind of like just in this sort of hazy, depressed, distilled frame of mind where people were like messaging me more worked up than I even was. Like, how could this happen? I feel so bad for you. And like, what can I do to help you? And I would tell them what, but like, I was like kind of catatonic.
Yeah.
Right. Like, and part of me on the second and third day was almost like, I don't even care if I get it back. Like I was, and I'm not even kidding. Like I was kind of at the point where I was like,
that's how I feel with social media all the time.
I was like, I don't know if I need this. Like it's, and then I got it back, obviously. They apologized and said it was a mistake.
Good.
But like, there was a part of me that was coming around to the idea of not having that anymore and just maybe I don't need it.
You were mourning the loss, basically.
Just last week, a friend messaged me, replied to one of my stories on Instagram, and messaged me.
Yeah.
Do you ever feel tempted to post something that's not tattoo related? And my response is no. I dislike social media strongly, and it's just a work thing.
Yeah.
Dude,
You know?
I like. Part of me is always of the mindset that like we should ascribe meaning to whatever it is that we do. Like you have a meaning behind your account.
I do, yeah.
You have a meaning behind your account.
Big time.
I hopefully will have a meaning behind my account. But like back in the day, it was like musician stuff, so I had to post that I was playing shows.
Of course.
Doing all that stuff because to me it was a business. I wanted people to see that I was out doing that, and you could hire me to do that.
Yeah.
But I have always, this is again probably old man of me, I have always struggled with the notion of doing these things for the sake of doing those things.
Oh yeah, goodness.
Like, I just don't understand it, and I don't like because like you cannot gain anything from it physically. Right?
No.
That's like us watching. We watch a lot of media where old rich white men are arguing about crap that happened on Twitter.
Yeah.
And I'm like, stop reading Twitter.
Yeah.
I've never read Twitter once,
This
and
is
I feel much richer for it.
I don't really scroll social media ever.
Yeah.
I just create for social media because
right.
I'm interested in the potential of what me online can create.
That's right.
Because I know I am this odd duck, and I'm very aware of how to push and pull that, and how I can make that work for me and potentially make me money, and also teach some people some things, show a different side of this stereotype. All of these different things. The only thing I don't do with it is really buy it myself. You know what I mean? Like I don't ever start going, if I get 1 million followers, I'm not going to walk around town acting like I'm this big shot.
Man, I really hope you do though, just for one day. Just be like have a shirt that says like 1 milli or something that any like YouTube star would do.
It sometimes to me it's more of a detriment than it is a benefit. Like it honestly feels like I'd be freer without it.
Absolutely.
But then we
Of course
wouldn't
you
be we probably wouldn't be sitting here doing this right now if it weren't for that.
Also true.
Fair point.
So it opens and closes doors for me. And the idea that some of those doors that it's opened would be closed is sad, but at the same time, the doors that it closes, I kind of miss. Like I used to feel like I had more of my own time. Like I used to feel like I didn't have to answer 1 million idiots and 1 million decent people, but still annoying sometimes.
Yeah, of course.
Right? Because you'll get done a shift to work and there's like 10 message requests from
Anything that consumes your time without immediately giving you positive payback is kind of sapping something from you, or anything that takes your time and you feel obligated to fulfill.
Well, and what you're presently aware of, or should be, if you want to do this long term, is that any one person that messages you with a thought out question about something, and you want to give them a decent answer, right? Because this person's gone out of their way to ask you specifically, and presumably, if you answer them well and treat them like a decent human being,
They'll follow you forever.
they'll follow you forever, and they'll probably support you, right? So that could be a potential person watching this podcast one day. You know, that's the mindset I built my platform with. It's been
Synergy.
really hands-on, and that takes so much out of me. And the idea that I wouldn't have that anymore felt like I was free.
Yeah.
but also
with less meaning.
with less meaning.
Yeah.
Because then without that, what am I doing?
Because as much as it doesn't seem like there's tangible reward coming from that platform, there is.
Yeah.
It's just not tangible in the terms of food on the table.
No.
It's not tangible in terms of anything material, but it's still giving you some feedback
And
in terms of brain chemistry.
one
in
day-
terms of long-term value that you see.
Right.
in
One
yourself.
day it might end up buttering my bread.
Ideally.
It's the kind of thing that if you don't water your grass, it'll never grow.
yeah.
Right? You have to do the work. And a lot of people, what happens is when they get to the moment I was just describing, they're just done. I've seen so many people just go, I'm not doing this anymore. It's too much work.
Yeah.
And why am I doing it?
Well, but we're looking at all this very pragmatically because we're all pragmatic people. We think that way from what I can gather for us. What I'm wondering more is like the people that aren't. Because there's a good swath of people that don't look at this stuff that way.
No.
There's other people that feel those rewards and they get very emotional about this. There's a lot of people, if they go up tomorrow and their account of 1,000 people was deleted, they would lose their mind.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They would go absolutely mental.
Well, because like it is, so like I think there's people that view it as something to further themselves in their life, and then there's some that view it as their life. And as your life, it's scary to the idea of losing your life. Like if that's what you've got, and that those numbers are the things that give you feeling and sense of purpose and things like that. Like
Imagine being one of these average-looking girls that shows a bit too much skin.
Oh, yeah.
I
on
might be an
Instagram
average-looking girl. You
and-
don't know.
and amasses 10,000 followers
'Kay.
from posting really, what's the right word for this? Really slutty shit.
Yeah.
That's the wrong word, but
I
use
see it
anyway.
all the time.
Is it the wrong word?
I don't know. It's a podcast. I'm trying to be
Yeah.
couth here. So
Provocative.
Provocative. Yeah.
yeah. So imagine that girl. Imagine she woke up tomorrow morning and her account was just deleted. After
I've seen it.
After for the last 3 years, selling herself, saying the most provocative things.
Yeah, I've seen
and
it.
showing her body.
I've literally seen it. You know
Yeah.
the person.
Yeah.
Yeah, like
Really?
yeah, she was like what 20,000 something followers, and she's in a line of work that would benefit from provocative things.
Yeah.
And like she was here getting tattooed. Like I think the day after that she got tattooed, she got her account wiped.
Wow.
Like she was just done. And I don't know. Like I think she's gotten it back. Maybe.
It's possible always to get your account back, but you need to make enough of an uproar.
Yeah.
Like I was the benefactor of a lot of goodwill. The same goodwill that I was talking about, where I have responded to so many people.
Yeah. Everybody had your back, man.
Right.
Everybody had my back. Everybody was making a
Right.
ruckus. There was a lot of people that were not happy for me. And even like my old account, my sub account grew like 900 followers in a day
Yep.
because my wife was posting about it, and her account has grown alongside mine.
Well, we were posting.
Yeah.
Too. Like I mean,
Yeah.
we were all about it.
Everybody was. Like I had so many people in an outcry about it
Yeah.
that I think they had almost no choice but to do something.
Yeah.
But a lot of people don't have that.
No.
Right.
So a lot of people don't have that groundswell where it's like they won't even be noticed.
Yeah.
But
But like with hers, it was interesting too because it's like that's a good way of advertising for income
yeah,
for her, and it was one of those like not only is it this social media thing, but it was like all of a sudden, oh, maybe your job's in jeopardy right now.
Yeah.
Yep.
Like maybe you can't put food on
It's a
your
revenue
table
Right.
right now.
See, that's what I always get.
That's like
I'm always concerned with like the people who do just fans and like they sell their body or whatever,
Just
right?
fans.
We,
we
well, I've had people ask me if I'm ever going to do it.
there's just fans there.
Well, especially after I did the nude post on Instagram recently.
Oh yeah, you got a
It
lot of interest.
went insane, by the way.
Yeah,
It
dude.
got over 1,000 comments.
That was such a striking image.
Yeah.
That was well done.
And
Bold.
it
So
didn't
check this
trend
out.
because
I'm not allowed to promote anymore.
why?
Because you probably promoted too much.
You think?
Mhm.
I know that's
Fair.
a thing.
I don't know. They set up arbitrary rules, right?
Huh.
Like you'll see little blockades and little barricades. Like there was something in his post and there was something in hers that would have been automatically triggered. They're gonna say that it was like reviewed by a person, but they can't. They don't have the
No.
scale or infrastructure
Never.
to do that.
No.
So it's something that's why they had the
Yeah.
whole free the nipple thing, which they still have to. If you post a chest photo,
Yeah.
well, I mean, in your case, you're probably fine.
No,
None
no,
of the
no,
black
no,
work
no.
stuff seems to do that.
It depends. Sometimes it's okay and sometimes it isn't.
Oh, see, this is where it's like
I
they have
know
an
all
algorithm
about
depending-
that topic.
But it's the same thing, right? Like so, it's like some little tripwire that they set up got tripped, right?
Yeah,
Like,
my
I just
back
saw-
piece
Yeah,
has never, ever trended.
Yeah.
And if I post my back piece, I'm done for weeks.
Yeah.
Like I will back pedal.
yeah,
Because what happens when the bigger you get, the more natural breakage you get.
yep,
More people just go, I don't want to follow this guy.
yeah,
So when you're not getting any outside views,
Yeah.
and you're still having those people go, I don't want to follow this guy, you'll start to backtrack.
Yeah.
Right? So if I post images of my back, that's why I don't post it anymore, because it's the nudity.
Yeah.
Even if I censor it, they don't care. It's not hitting the explore page. It won't hit hashtags.
Yep.
It will just be seen by your home base. And
And that's it.
anytime you stand in front of 100,000 people and do anything, someone's going to be upset.
Right.
If I stand in front of 3 people, good chance I'm not upsetting
cares.
anyone.
Yeah.
And those 3 people probably know me better than 100,000 people. So if I stand in front of 116,000 people like I did last week, naked,
yep.
how many of those people do you think I pissed off?
A
47 at
majority
least.
of them.
I think I probably lost around 400 followers
Really?
in the scale of that post.
Wow.
And it didn't trend, but it got shared over 4,000 times.
There you go. Wow.
This is where like
Wow.
so I have a hard time with this because I understand there's a lot of negativity and things that go around this social media thing, but I really have a hard time with the idea that because I like to think market driven in terms
Yeah.
of like if something is good, it will go, right? Because that's the whole nature of sharing things and people the way that we're wired.
That's
right?
the nature of
Like-
a healthy capitalism, which
Well, but-
we are not in.
But we're wired that way too,
Yes,
right? Like
yes.
if I see something that is of interest to me, and I am friends with you, and I think
You
oh,
actually
you
want
might
to share
have,
it. It brought
yeah.
you joy, and you want to share that.
And so it's instinctual to us. Like it's the sharing of resources or information
Yeah.
amongst those. So if that's our natural course of action, and you see something that's striking like that, that's 4,000 shares or whatever,
Yep.
but it's an image that algorithmically they're going to try and push that down. That is like I have a really hard time understanding why in this tech thing, and now that I understand it more, it's just entirely so they could advertise to you because you
Well-
can't advertise to as many people if you're holding your junk. Like you just can't advertise as broadly. So therefore they can't make as much money and therefore they have to push it down.
I tried and I knew, like I didn't do this because I wanted to promote that post, because I've promoted three posts ever.
Yeah.
And I've always been dissatisfied with promotions.
Yeah, they're
But
not good.
I will say I tried to promote that post, not because I wanted added reach, but because I knew they wouldn't promote it.
Yeah.
I tried to promote that post. It was under review for 10 hours before they said that it was explicit sexually.
Yeah.
And I knew they were going to say that. It was just my way of getting confirmation. And I was thinking, there's literally nothing sexual about this image.
No.
Literally nothing could be construed in any way, shape, or form. If you were to have a picture of a woman's foot, that could be more sexualized than that.
Yeah.
So what I'm getting at is literally anything can be sexualized. Like that shirt you're wearing, someone could have a fetish for.
Most certainly.
Well, the name of it is Heather.
Hey,
Yeah,
you were wondering.
but literally anyone. You could have a fetish for Kevin's beard.
It's called Heather. Yeah.
So do we then not show Kevin's beard off?
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, well, where does it end? Anything can be fetishized. Anything can be sexualized, right? So who's to say? Like, this is why it needs
Well,
to be
Mark Zuckerberg is.
right. So we get a handful of guys writing code for the entire world.
Yeah.
And then they're not even there to carry it out. They're just letting their algorithms run it. Because I can guarantee you, if there was a hands-on approach to, and they're never going to do it, because who could sort post by post for the whole world? But if there was a hands-on approach to that post, they would have gone, this isn't sexual.
I yes and no. I think with the way that these companies are structured, they probably still would have. Just simply because like the bubble that they're having to walk now within, which is only going to get worse from here, is very like they will really need to start segmenting these types of apps into, and they already claim to, but they're really going to have to start segmenting them into like certain age brackets.
Yeah.
Like, so this is something that I have a very hard time understanding. So like, not only will you not get the full reach of out there into the world through their algorithm, but you won't even get the full reach of your user base.
Well, you
People
don't.
that have
But that
asked
post
to
got
see what you're
to
gonna say.
77,000 on my home, which is the biggest home reach I've ever had.
That's absolutely phenomenal.
Yeah, I've never
like,
had a
that's huge
post
reach.
get that, and it got 16,000 likes from my home.
Yeah.
That's the biggest home-only post I've ever had. And that should have meant that it probably got around 50,000 likes and a couple thousand followers.
Yeah.
But it had no access to the outer world. And before I finish, what I want to say is to anyone who thinks that shadow ban is not a thing still.
It's real.
Like, because some people think that that's a conspiracy or it doesn't happen. I can't believe that people still think that. That's
What's
not
shadow ban?
that shadow banning, as in you only get your home page. You're not seen by anyone outside. You're like kind of like a private account.
It goes even crazier than that. Like you can be like, I've had situations where you'll see a person. Usually, comedians seem to get this a lot, where you can type their name or their handle in exactly in the search field.
Yeah.
And it will not come up.
Well, it's like if
Really?
you type in EphemeralRemy, my old alt account is above my main account in the search results. I haven't posted on it in a year,
No way.
yet it's more relevant than my main account.
Yep.
Weird.
Yeah. Well, even like if you search Lee's right now, because he's going through that thing with
Yeah.
bot accounts that are like trying to scam people for money.
Yeah, yeah.
If you search his name, those bot accounts came up first.
They've got less
Goodness.
dirt built into them.
Yeah.
Like they've
Right.
had less offenses than Lee's
Right.
account. And who knows
Right.
what that even means.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because like all it is someone sees a post that they don't like by you and they report it.
Yeah.
Dude, I had a picture. So I tried to promote this one where it was a picture of a girl's arm here. But since you could see her bust here, the shape of her chest here, it wasn't allowed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's offensive content.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, I've got a few I follow on here where they don't post pictures
Oh,
pictures
sure.
of girls that have a clear shirt and you can see their nipples.
Yeah.
Meanwhile,
I've seen
she's fully
nipples
clothed.
on Explore.
Yeah,
I
of
have
course.
seen it.
Of
I
course.
don't understand.
But if you were to take your user base, times it by 100, all of a sudden you're going to have less issue.
Yeah.
Because like you're at a place where you're trying to grow, and like I don't I think when you're in a smaller user base, but I mean like I guess no.
I'm telling you, like what
That's-
happens
it's
is
gotta be the same.
I have crazy groundswell. Even for my size, it's extraordinary. Like everything I post is shared hundreds to thousands of times.
Yep.
That's not an exaggeration. It's because I have such a shocking nature about me, right? I used to think of it as like shock rock. But it spreads like crazy. And then Instagram has gotten used to that. And they're like, no. We're not going to let that happen. Because like on TikTok, that doesn't happen. That's why my TikTok goes nuts.
Yeah.
Because it's like TikTok is an open sea where it's like...
This is why TikTok is winning right now.
Yeah, it's because they don't limit stuff like that. Like I can have a video go 40 million views on there because people are sharing it. On Instagram, that same video, it's getting shared as much initially. But they're like, nope, this isn't it in our trending page.
That's how it used to be in Instagram. That was like the whole thing before they got purchased and before they started taking the advertising model. Because I don't know if you remember, but a long time when Instagram was privately owned, there was no advertising model.
Goodness.
Everything was just simply like, if it's good, you're going to get up. And you see that with like, you can always see, what I always look at is like tattooers that started in Instagram at a certain time. If their work was half decent, they are hundreds of thousands of followers.
I'll tell you, in under a year, almost 800,000 on TikTok. In 4 years, 116,000 on Instagram.
And that's what I'm meaning, where it's like, but all these apps are going to be in the same boat, which is like they're trying to get to a place where they can IPO and they can get sold, and they can cash out, like everybody's done so far.
Facebook or TikTok, buy Facebook. Right?
Yeah,
but
it's going to be
the goal for me is to become big on each platform before that happens.
That's
because once you're established, you're good.
You got to grab the wave as it's riding up,
Yeah.
and then hopefully people retain usership. Although I had someone ask me the other day, it's like, "Are you on Snapchat?" And I was like, "Are people on Snapchat?"
I don't do Snapchat.
Who does that?
I see clients all the time
On
sitting
Snapchat?
there Snapchatting the whole
Crazy.
time I'm tattooing them. I'm like,
so
what are you?
old. I just feel so old when those situations
Yeah,
happen.
I don't
I'm
know
just
about that.
What? Really?
The last time I got Snapchat, I met a girl at the bar. She was actually a cook at the Slice at the time. We danced all night, whatever. At the end of the night, I'm like, hey, this has actually been super fun. Like, I should get your number. She's like, oh, I don't have a working phone, but I do have Snapchat.
Yeah.
Like, no messenger, no phone number, no, just Snapchat. So I downloaded Snapchat. I was like, fine, I'll try to keep in touch.
That's a nightmare.
But no. So I started Snapchat for like 2 weeks a couple years ago. That was the last time I had it.
Yeah,
I've never done Snapchat.
I just like...
I don't do social media for fun, though.
No,
This is the thing. We're all pragmatic when it comes to those things.
This is the funnest thing I do for social media is this podcast. Everything else I treat like work.
Even though it's a conversation with the same dudes I hang out with, have a chat with anyway.
Well, but we actually set aside time to talk, which is like something that nobody does.
Like any good relationship.
Yeah,
So I said it's like the old used to go to, coffee with friends for hours,
people used to do that.
and that doesn't happen anymore.
I super used to do that.
I used to go out all night. We'd drink and drink and drink, and then that's how you would date almost.
Though now what it is I just have friends over and we smoke weed for hours.
Fair.
I'll be honest, I'm like, especially during COVID, where my bubble has shrunk so much.
Oh, I was thinking about that the other day. Imagine dating right now.
Oh my god.
Well, it's got to be a nightmare.
Yeah.
It's got to be an absolute nightmare.
Well, especially with having
that
people.
whole thing where they were talking about like you should have sex with masks on.
Oh my goodness.
It's like what?
Well, especially with like
have you tried it?
how
It's great.
people are so segmented
Add some
on
claustrophobia
like
to
what
the
they think about masks too. Like some people are more for masks than others.
Yeah.
Like there's just so many hurdles between people right now.
That's
like
right.
so people are on so many different opposite sides of coins right now.
Yeah, she wasn't conservative, but she was anti-mask.
Right.
Yeah.
It's just like, God, how many different things are there that you could disagree on?
She wasn't a climate change denier, but she was a COVID denier.
Dude, I think this is going to get more like because I still think that as religiosity seems to go down, because I think that's what's trending, is like most people would say the same kind of generic comment, which is like, well, I'm a spiritual person, like I'm open to the idea of God, but for the actual people that are going to churches and things like that, it's going to be going down. But that thing in our brain that wants us to be religious, I think is still there.
Well,
So I
it's
think you
programmed
get-
into us.
Yeah.
We are a Christian nation, whether we like it or not. That's my favorite end game of the. Did you see the arguments between, the debates between Sam Harris and Jordan Peterson?
Yeah.
Did you see their live ones with Douglas Murray moderating?
I did not.
Those were really, really amazing. But
okay, because the ones on their podcast were so frustrating.
those were bad.
Yeah. It was just them arguing semantics
About
over
truth.
words.
The word truth. They got nowhere. But they did, I think, 3 with Douglas Murray as the moderator.
Yeah.
Or one of them had Weinstein.
Eric?
Brett moderating. Anyway, they did 3 of them.
Yeah.
And that was kind of Jordan Peterson's final point to Sam every time was always, what I love about you is that you're the most Christian atheist I've ever met.
Yeah.
Right? And Sam was so annoyed by that.
Yeah, of
but
course.
like, I understand exactly what Jordan was saying because whether we like it or not, we are.
That was the foundation of it. Right?
Yeah, we are foundationally Christian.
Yeah. That's why also a lot of things that are not feel very uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like, even though like, if you had some sort of rationality to be more objective and to look past a little bit,
Yeah.
or to look outside of, it would be like, oh, whatever. But a lot of those things that come into place, like the growing pain of getting there, is so much worse. And then when it's there, you're like, oh, okay. Like weed in Canada.
Yeah.
Like the Conservative Party, which would be the more religious party, technically, because that's who all the church people
Typically
go for.
older too. Yeah.
Well, it's, I understand it. They don't want to lose their thing, whatever that is, because that's all real scary. But like when weed came into play, nothing bad happened.
Yep.
Not one thing.
Nope.
So
It's almost nothing has changed, really.
The funny
people
thing
who were
is,
smoking it were going to smoke it then. They're still smoking it now.
well, from the studies that they're bringing is that like teens smoking weed is going down because of legalization. It's the same thing with alcohol.
Well, we
Because you
need to
have-
move that envelope because we have teens using worse things now instead.
Well, Adderall, yeah.
Yeah, but this is the hard thing for me because I'm in a weird spot on this issue where I don't want people to be doing a lot of these drugs.
Which drugs?
All of them.
Heroin, meth.
But see, I feel similarly about weed as well. As much as I'm a total stoner, I feel like our brains are still developing into our early 20s.
Sure.
And I feel like your best case scenario, if you want to give yourself your best chance at having a long, successful, happy, intelligent life, I feel like you should be very careful using all substances.
I just think none of that
until at least 21, 22, 23, 24,
I think
25.
like I don't want people to be using these drugs. Wasn't the end game of it. It was like
No.
I want it all to be we're basically letting people do it anyway. Let's just have it all legal.
Yeah,
like nothing
full
should be illegal
pro-legalization.
anymore.
That's right.
Okay? But here's what I want. You're responsible for your own shit though.
Oregon
Like-
just did that, decriminalized all drugs.
Yes.
Oregon did?
Yeah.
No.
Well,
Yep.
we need to do this and
Just
then
passed it.
destigmatize it. And I feel like we'll have a lot less drug use in general.
Well, I think what you'll get knowledge. So like
Yeah,
one of the
because
things
people
that's
won't
really-
be so scared to provide the knowledge.
Yeah. One of the things that I find really
Oregon-
annoying is that like if it's a substance that's in the dark, they're not allowed to do research on it.
Exactly.
And research is the thing that gives you answers. So what he just said in terms of like it still affects your brain until it's developing or to a certain point, which I would argue 100%. But you don't get that study if it's
If
illegal.
they're too scared to touch it.
Yeah, and you don't get that with anything. Like so this is something that I'm going to make a bold claim about. My guess is opium's not that bad.
Right.
That's
right.
my guess.
Yep.
I have no idea. I have no way of proving it. But when it was in Vietnam and people were coming back from the war from smoking opium, nobody came back. Not a lot of people came back with an
Next
opium
Wednesday
addiction.
on the Remy Show, we test opium.
Yeah, sweet. Start the podcast with a nice hoot of opium. But in terms of its natural like plant form, but since it's illegal, they're not allowed to study it in that respect. So it's like this plant, it's just like coca leaves.
Yeah.
Like, cocaine messed up. You can get a lot of things wrong with it for many reasons, but the coca leaf's not an evil thing, right? Like it's used in Peru, it's used in a lot of places for oxygenation of your blood, and as a mild stimulant. But like the fact that the coca leaf to have here is illegal is weird, and it makes it so you can't study these things. And I don't like things being in the dark because
we
it
don't
makes
need
it so...
forbidden sciences anymore.
We don't need forbidden almost anything.
We need to be able to
practice alchemy here.
Yeah.
It's just it is as crazy as it is. That's exactly
That's what's happening.
It sounds like we're in the 1500s burning
Dark
witches or
Ages.
something.
Yeah,
like
precisely.
okay, enough is enough. Let's break down these stupid barriers. Get the hard facts out there for everyone.
Enough is enough. This guy's serving 15 years in jail for having 4 pounds of marijuana.
Well,
in his
these
car.
guys are
Well,
going to
like
do it
early-
anyway. At least let them do it safely or
Yeah.
safer.
Yeah.
Have products on the market that we can control slightly.
Yeah.
Then we won't have people making like carfentanil.
Yeah, right.
Right?
Yeah, or accidentally spiking it with something.
People aren't making that. Labs are making
Sure.
that, and then it's getting into the black market because people make a lot of money off that.
But
Because
what
there's
if
a
it
black
was?
market.
What if we were
Exactly.
conditioned
Exactly,
that was
because there's a black
available
market.
for them in some other way? They have to pay for it themselves somehow. I don't know.
No one would be using the fentanyl crap if good quality.
This is what I'm saying.
Things were found on the real market. If you could walk out and buy good drugs, you're not going to do the bad drugs.
Well, all substances
they're
are
really cheap.
substances, right?
Yeah.
Like they're all
They're not good or
Well,
bad.
I'll tell you what.
Yeah, we ascribe.
I don't smoke pot myself very often. My exes did. Whenever we would have to get her pot, the worst part of it for me was dealing with the sketchy buggers that she would get it from.
Yeah.
They would come over, hang out. They were in no particular hurry to get there. Sometimes they wouldn't answer their texts.
They're an hour late and they hang out for
like,
4
They
hours.
smell like shit.
Yeah.
They're in like dirty clothes. Yeah, they're just hanging out sometimes. Like, it's like, could you just give me the product and leave, please?
And now we
Yeah.
have the Apple Store around the corner.
Exactly.
With bud specialists to
Exactly.
tell you exactly of
You know
which
what?
strain for which.
You know what's the best part about legal weed? No more of that guy.
That's
Yeah.
right.
Right?
Yeah.
So exactly that. I would be thinking that would happen with every other drug.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I'm
like,
going to read this before I lose it
Yep.
here. But Oregonians made their state the first in the U.S. to decriminalize the personal possession of legal drugs, including cocaine, heroin, oxycodone, and methamphetamine.
Mm-hmm.
The ballot measure would reclassify possession of small amounts of drugs as a civil violation, similar to a traffic offense.
Yep.
The penalty would be a $100 fine.
if they decide to give you one.
That's brilliant.
Because if you think about it, like that's kind of like what's happened. I think we're passing or have passed the decriminalization of mushrooms, right? Psilocybin is decriminalized here.
Yeah,
Is that the case?
I think so.
Canada? What?
Yeah,
I think we've passed it.
I don't think it's
yeah.
legal. I think it's decriminalized.
I think it's decriminalized.
Yeah.
And it's the similar kind of thing. Like, why would we prosecute you for having a small amount of this thing, right?
yeah, it's a waste of everyone's
But
time.
in terms of if you're the person producing them, I still believe that you can get arrested or whatever. I mean, it's still happening with weed.
We have a strange thing here where it's not illegal to take a substance, but it's illegal to be found in possession of it.
Yeah. Yeah.
How you can't do one without the other?
Well, magic, I guess. I
Like
don't know.
what? Did someone force it in you, or
Yeah.
like how did you get it? Did it fall from the sky?
Yeah.
Like what happened there?
Well, and I mean, like, Canada is a nice, I think, case study for the rest of the world to observe. We've done it with marijuana. It's pretty successful. I feel like they can all kind of get on board now. We're going to be doing it with psilocybin because it's going to be the legalization for, what do you call it? Medicinal.
Yeah.
Because for depression and anxiety, that's going to be basically the biggest thing that we've ever done. But that's going to be coming down the road where you're going to have, microdosing is prescribed to you here, and then eventually it will be the same thing where they're going to grandfather psilocybin in with the weed thing. They'll tax it. You'll have selections. You can go through. It'll be the same
It
thing.
should be that way for everything. But I mean, I always find it hard to get my point across on this topic with people because I don't really want people to be using hard drugs. But I feel like less of them would use it if we could show them the science properly and have it available in the right way and destigmatize it, stop making it kind of cool in a way,
Yep.
and just make it more normal.
Well, if countries that have a healthy interaction with alcohol, I would assume, have less alcohol use. Like abuse, I would say.
Abuse.
Like
Use and abuse
Italy,
are two different things.
Italy's relationship with wine, France's relationship with wine has been that way for a very long time.
Yeah.
And you can see it culturally as far better. But
Yeah, when
granted,
you think of a Frenchman,
argue,
you don't think about, oh, he's drunk as a skunk.
Yeah. Although, like, Ireland, Scotland, those
Yeah.
ones, not so much.
Yeah,
that's pretty
well, the
painful.
drunken Irishman, I mean,
Yeah.
that's a thing, right?
Yeah. But I mean,
So-
I think it's just things in the dark, man. Like that.
Yeah.
That's gotta be. We gotta start addressing that culturally.
It creates a curiosity.
Oh yeah, and it creates curiosity at a young age.
Yep.
And like
Whenever your parent tells you, don't touch that,
oh man, you want to touch it so bad.
right? You're built to test the boundaries. That's what humans do.
Yeah, that's right. This is what we're wired for.
Yeah.
We're wired to crave more and experiment and try things.
It's
Yeah.
like, you know, the thing you can't have is the thing you want most, right? So if there's only one thing in the room that your parent says you can't play with, now that's become the object of your desire.
Your eye is going to be drawn to that
like,
object 10 times more frequently than any other
I wonder
object.
what that thing is and why can't I have it?
Well, and maybe it's everything you wanted.
What makes it so
what I
special
mean?
I can't have it?
Well, and we have that with almost everything, right? Like our consumerism way of living is like maybe I'll be happy if I have that,
Yep.
right? And like that's going to be the same way with substances, things that you don't know of. If anything, like they tried to project this idea of the like when weed was illegal, it was like, okay, well, stoners, deadheads, people that are unproductive with their life. It was all these unappealing ways of marketing it. Because hopefully then you think of that substance and you equate it to this. Just like with any other drug, they're trying to give it this idea of like, oh, they're almost inhuman. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? Like,
if you
oh,
can
it's this
other
bad,
someone.
bad thing,
Yeah.
so you never try it. But it's like, no, that's not fair. That's not fair to the person that used it and is now in that way. That's not fair to the person that's like.
I
It's not
always think
fair.
like the more things we become okay with, the more new ones we create to not be okay with. Right? Like, okay, so now we're all okay with pot for the most part.
Yep.
Right? So now it's masks versus no masks. Black Lives Matter supporters versus people who hated the riots.
Yep.
Right? Like it's we need
Versus
to
law and
have
order.
we've got to have enemies.
Yeah.
Seems like. So if we fix this thing, then this thing's on fire.
Yeah.
It sounds like what you're talking about right now, though, is very much the social dilemma of it all.
Yeah.
You know, the polarization effect that is kind of coming across our culture and in a giant wave now anyway. People were never... Sorry, that's the wrong way to say it. But the polarization has really been cranking up to a level 11 lately, when for a long time, people were very much within their own group, their own community, and polarization was more often expressed through war and through
Yeah,
larger
well, we
scale
had-
differences.
We
Large
have
scale.
these are the wars of our time, right?
That's right. That's
Because
right.
we don't have real wars to fight anymore. Now we're looking around ourselves and going, who can I war with? Right? What can I war about? I need to war. Humans need to war.
Do you think
Maximum
it's
conflict.
Do you think it's also because like if you don't have that, potentially you're the bad?
Well, you have to look
Like you're
within.
the shadow self. You're
Right?
the shadow. Like because like
Well-
if you have the like if you go historically, like America had the Russians and it was like, okay, the Russians are the evil. And then Russia thought the same of the U.S., where it's like they're
You
the
can
bad.
boil that down
No,
you're
to
the
a
good.
simpler
I think
form.
it's the exact opposite.
Well, if Kevin's
do you mean?
attacking me, I don't have to worry about the damage I'm doing to myself. I need to worry about defending myself from Kevin.
Exactly.
Yeah, but that's what I mean.
Whereas-
Like they're the bad, so therefore I can't be the bad because you either have the hero, the victim, or the
I think there's
antagonist.
I think there's a different group where we can each be our own hero, and this applies, you know, individually and culturally, where someone who has done their research, someone who has truly worked to understand other people individually and as a whole, is someone who realizes that, oh, I have strong opinions. I feel strongly about a wide variety of topics, and so do they.
Yeah.
I disagree strongly, and I think they're wrong, but they disagree strongly for me, and they think I'm wrong. And I accept that they are standing there with those opinions and those ideas in the exact same way I am standing here with mine.
So
and that's
empathy.
yeah, you're basically it's an empathy based concept where you're opening yourself up to understand that these differences are, first of all, okay. And then from there, you can approach finding middle ground from a place of non-defensiveness. Because right now, everything seems very defensive.
Oh, yeah.
Dude,
Like the whole time.
I completely agree.
Yeah. So I feel like there is a way to, without villainizing everyone else and without making yourself the hero, find some way to depolarize and de-escalate the situation.
See, that's one of the
It's an
reasons
idealistic concept.
Yeah, very.
But I mean,
I don't
that's
think
what
we're headed that way right now.
That's what we
either.
have to do to survive.
Well, but this is where like I have a curiosity about certain things. Empathy is one of them.
Mm-hmm.
So, and one of the things that I feel is happening is because I think with the movement in the '60s and the hippies and the LSD and all that stuff, there was this push for
The hippies
love.
and the LSD.
Yeah, there's a push for this like free love thing, right? Which scares anybody that isn't in that mindset.
Yeah.
And I feel like we have been kind of escalating our lack of empathy.
But it only scares people not in that mindset because of the propaganda used on those people. Like that's very much the thing, is the only reason we're villainizing people with opinions different to ourselves is because we've been fed information telling us that people who don't agree with us are
evil.
bad.
Yeah, of course.
But what
that's not the
happens if we
case.
don't
Well, but-
have that then?
we don't have which part?
So what happens if we don't have that information telling us these people are bad? I feel like humans need a villain.
Yeah, of
right.
course.
I'll put it this way. I'll give you an example. This is like the Green Party of Canada opposing an East Coast or a West Coast pipeline. Because yes, it could cause damage. But will it cause more damage or less damage than importing the oil we use in the East Coast from Saudi Arabia? Because we do. And that causes damage. That is exposing ourselves to ecological disaster. That is using energy and making us dependent on foreign resources, right? So yes, putting a pipeline to the East Coast is a big project and can damage the environment. But the people like, not to hate on the Green Party, because I fully support a party that has the Earth's best interests at heart. Fully into that. But to not even be able to have the conversation about whether a pipeline could be a net positive, that is the danger right there. They're saying that, no, this is the enemy. We stand for this. Therefore, we're naturally opposed to everything that goes in this category, even though it might be a net positive, even for our values.
Well, I think it's you see it like because what you're talking about is you're playing like a long game of chess,
Of course.
right? Because you like a good chess player can see what the other infer what the other person is
Yeah.
going to do, which like that's one of the best things about us as human beings is we can infer things, we can run scenarios
Yeah.
and things like that. But like we have a very big lack of that. We are playing very emotional chess that's
And
only worried about
short-sighted.
ourselves. Yeah.
But like my point is, if you take all these problems that we have right now, all the little wars we're fighting with different people, with different motives and different ways of thinking, and you solve all of those somehow, what would you think that humans are going to be content that way, or are they going to find even smaller things to bicker over?
I don't give a fuck about contentment.
But
what I wanna
we're
see
always
people
going to
do-
create these.
But
Well,
I want to see people find good solutions despite their differences. You know, that's my thing, is I'm looking at these things not as, because people are always going to be upset and worried about crap. What I would like to see is the people actually making the decisions. I'd like to see them find a way to work above this crap and make strong solutions.
See, that would assume that they're truly benevolent and better than we
Yeah, and
are
I was
at
gonna
the
say,
bottom.
like when you
Exactly.
say the statement, people making the decisions, the only thing that separates us from the people that are making the decisions is we didn't decide to go into politics.
Exactly.
Exactly.
These people aren't benevolent gods.
No.
They're
That's
people
one-
with problems.
That's one of the biggest things that I've had as a problem with most conspiracies, because a lot of people want to ascribe deified power
Yeah.
Right.
to
Like Donald Trump or whoever
That's-
else
that's
is
my
not
issue with
really
conspiracy
like a
theories as
human
well.
could
Yeah.
sit here and talk to us and relate a story that traumatized him as a child.
Of course.
Every one of us has that.
Yeah.
But
that
that's where,
doesn't
like-
stop at any level of government.
That's where like our
And everyone's
inability-
competing for power all the time. So why would there be a secret group that somehow has power? No, everyone's vying for it at all times.
Well, even if there is, that's almost why they have to ascribe them like an alien thing. You know what I mean? Because it's like, well, if it is just people are real fallible. And I think like the Epstein thing is, I think, a good example of it. That's a creepy dude. Sure, there's probably lots of creepy dudes in his creepy sphere that do all these creepy things that rich people do because they can pay people to do things and then get rid of them.
And yeah, that's right. And
Because
be quiet.
and like, but like it's probably way more real than what the kind of movie version is that the conspiracy theory
Of
thing
course.
would be. Like even his island, his little temple thing that he had is like shitty plywood and stuff, and it's like because it's
'Cause you still
this
had to-
is the real world. These are
Because
just human
you still had to
beings.
pay someone to go there and build that.
Yeah.
Like, it's not like it came out of thin air.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, you still had to hire a contractor to go build the thing on a secret island somewhere. Somewhere there's a contractor who's like, oh, yeah, I built that.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, but he's probably been
I
paid
know,
into
Jeff.
silence too,
Oh, of
right?
course, of
Like,
course.
Well,
But,
but, like,
but that's the only difference between him and us.
Yeah.
That's the only change.
and for a majority of people, almost all of those situations are not strange. Because, like, okay, yeah, he wants to build a weird temple, but, like, he paid me, so I did it.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, I'm just
contractor
put
things, you
bread
know what I
on
mean?
my table.
The Mormons built a weird temple, too.
Yeah. Yeah, lots of them.
Yeah.
But, like, even with, like, the people that are on his list of flight logs and things like that, he's also just a rich guy who invested in stuff.
well,
so
and,
it's
and
like-
people invested in him.
Yeah.
He's their money manager. These are his clients.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, we'll see what comes out with that eventually. But I just think that, like, people are people, and we fail to...
Yeah.
We want someone to be better than us.
Yeah, that's
We
what that's
really want a
exactly it.
god.
Why
We
do
really
these
want, like,
guys
a-
have it all together?
Yeah, we really
Like-
want a Herculean type character to be the savior of us.
This is
in
also
some
because
way.
That's what
humans-
we're really looking for that right now, particularly at this moment in time, because no one around us seems to have a clue.
Yeah.
And I think that's a big part of why Donald Trump has been so successful, is because he projects like a daddy strongman character.
Yeah. Trump Daddy.
Right.
Yeah.
And
Daddy
people
Trump.
want that
Space Daddy.
desperately for somebody to have an idea
Yeah.
of what's going on.
So, on that note, predictions. Because we're recording this
Oh,
the day
man.
after the election, but it's not at a place where it's like known yet, and this is going to come out later. So let's just do a prediction.
Pick me, pick me, pick me.
Who wins, Trump or Biden?
So,
Nope.
I have
just say it.
I have a two-part answer.
Two-part answer.
I do not abide to your rules.
Okay, that's fair.
I have a two-part answer.
I think outside the box.
I think that Trump will try to block in the mail-in ballots,
Sure.
and if he succeeds, I think he will win.
Okay,
If the
so-
mail-in ballots all get counted, I think Biden will win.
So let's take it one step further. January 17th,
Yep.
who's in office?
Depends on whether or not those mail-in ballots get counted.
I know, but like your gut. What's your gut say?
I mean, Trump, obviously.
Okay.
I think Trump or Kamala, first off.
Interesting.
Because
I
I
like where
think
your
3
head's at.
months is a long. I think 3 months is a long time
It's
to
gonna
go
be a dark winter.
for
done.
Biden.
Yeah,
I don't
well
think that.
He can hide in the basement as long as he wants.
I don't think Biden is going to be president.
He's not going to shake off the Rona the same way as Trump.
Whether he's president or not, he wouldn't be anyway. But I don't think he's going to sit in the White House. I never have thought so. I've been watching politics a long time, and Biden is a supporting man and nothing else.
Yeah.
He's
I don't know. I think he's a hyper-typical.
yeah,
bullshit
but
politician.
he's not a standalone.
So
And
people are coming in. So
Okay.
I'm gonna say Biden.
I think it's just Ricky.
No,
Never
there's
mind.
another guy
I'm
too.
wrong. It's
Yeah.
not just Ricky. You're saying Biden.
I'm saying Biden.
Okay.
I'm saying Trump.
I want to say Trump, but I'm saying Biden.
I'm saying Trump.
Good times.
Yeah.